Here we go. So here we are seeing some of this rotation taking place. Again, we look for that strong couplet of greens and reds. What that is telling us is we have air that is moving toward and away from that radar. So as of right now, the area that I'm most concerned about looks to be just between Dundee and Elgin. Again, we are seeing that radar tornado signature. Tim McGill is here as well. We're going to toss it on over to you. Hi, Tim.
Hi, Emily. That's right. You know, we've been worried about this all day long. We were placed under the enhanced risk for severe weather according to the Storm Prediction Center. That's what this graphic is showing you right now. That's a level 3 out of level 5, which means numerous severe storms possible. Well, we haven't had numerous. We've had this one cell that has turned tornadic, and that's the one we're watching now as it moves off towards the east and southeast. And there it is. You can see that heavier area of rain here just south of Cary in the southwestern portions of Lake County, northwestern portions of that's Cook County, moving off towards the east. This is all fueled by this high heat and humidity that has been building across the area throughout the day. We've got heat index values south and west of the city getting up to about 105 to 110 degrees. And just north of the city, we've got heat index values getting well into the 90s. So there's a frontal boundary here, a warm front kind of nudging northward. That's providing the fuel for these showers and thunderstorms. This in particular storm here reaching up to around 58,000 feet in terms of the top of this thunderstorm as it extends on up into the atmosphere. Zooming in on now, you can see in the Lake Zurich area, you're getting some heavier downpours. Barrington back over towards Palatine, Long Grove as well. Looks like along 22, Route 14 here, all moving off towards the south and east. Rand Road and Lake Zurich towards Deer Park, also getting some heavier downpours as well as the storm continues to move off towards the east. Again, these temperatures are fueling that heat and humidity, and that's fueling these thunderstorms. Tomorrow it's going to feel like around 100 to 105 degrees. We're looking at more of the same around here during the day on Wednesday. I don't think we're going to have to deal with the severe storms, though, tomorrow Wednesday because the atmosphere will be kind of capped. We'll have warm air throughout the entire atmosphere. Prevents thunderstorms from developing, but we've broken that cap across our far northern suburbs. That's allowed for these thunderstorms to develop along that warm front, and that's that one storm, that one cell we're watching in particular. We saw a couple of stronger cells in southern Wisconsin earlier this evening, too. Those have moved out into the lake, and now we have one forming in our area. So back to you, Emily.
Yes, so the concern right now looks to be just north of Elgin. We're seeing that tornado warning, and I kind of have a different looking view here of the radar. So if we were looking at this in a 3D perspective, this storm is extending up towards 60,000 feet. So we're also starting to become concerned, not just, of course, for the tornado warning that's been issued and the potential tornado, but some hail potential as well. I just saw an update come through from the National Weather Service that hail could be possibly reaching to be around 1 inch to 1.5 inches in diameter. If you have cars parked outdoors, that's certainly going to be causing some damage. So hail is now a major concern with this as well. Again, we have a tornado warning that's in effect until 6:45. This is for parts of eastern Kane County and far northwestern Cook County. We're starting to see that. I want to zoom this out just a little ways and give you an idea of what we're looking at here. The whole viewing area as a whole right now, the main concern is really in the far north and northwest suburbs. So if we get you back over there, we do have that tornado warning. If you are highlighted within this yellow box here, that's where we are seeing the most concern. Checking out velocity data. What we're always looking for at this point is that sharp couplet of the greens and the reds, and we are most certainly seeing this at this point. So zooming the map down just a little ways, area of concern at this point, looking to be just east of Elgin. We are seeing this strong signature now of some rotation. So again, for those of you that are highlighted within this red box here, it extends just to the west of Schaumburg, down to about Bartlett, Elgin, and Dundee. West Dundee is where we're concerned with seeing some of that rotation as well. This storm itself is continuing to make its way to the east. So I'll go ahead. I want to track this for you, give you some arrival times. We're going to extend it east of the actual warning. And this is going to give us a good idea that if this keeps its strength, which at this point, this storm does look very strong. It's continuing to show those strong radar signatures, too, of that rotation. So Carpentersville looks like 609, South Barrington 619, Schaumburg. Again, you are right on the edge of this tornado warning, but it looks like you could be continuing to see this storm moving your area around 624. Palatine 628, Rolling Meadows 630, Arlington Heights around 633, Wheeling 639, just before 640 for Elk Grove Village, Des Plaines around 644, and 649 for Park Ridge. I want to take you now over to just the warning so we can see that all on its own. So you can kind of have a really good idea of exactly where this is and where the severe thunderstorm ends. Zooming in, sorry, I'm trying to do this on my iPad here. I want to give you some road names as well. I'm going to step off camera, keep talking to you. We have that tornado warning that is in effect until 6:45. This includes Dundee, Elgin, Streamwood, Schaumburg. Also seeing South Barrington within this, as well as Sutton. If we take a look at the velocity data, we're still seeing a really strong signature here of some rotation taking place. We did get an update, it looks like from the National Weather Service, says tornado possible with this. Of course, again, we do have that tornado warning that has been issued. 2-inch hail is going to be a possibility with this as well. One more time, I do want to show you the 3D view of this storm just to show you how high this extends up into the atmosphere, because this gives us a really good idea too on just how strong the storm is and what kind of hail we're going to be looking at. This storm looks to be extending to between the hail core, at least to around 50,000 feet. So that's why we are seeing those signatures for some pretty large hail. Again, if you have your car parked outdoors, we could be seeing some damage to that. For those of you that are within the tornado warning, you're going to want to get to your safe space. That would be a basement, an interior room without windows. And at this point, especially when we're seeing this sharp couplet here between, looks just east of Elgin, it'd be a good idea to try and get to your safe space. Looks like, Tim, you're rocking and ready to go, so we'll send it on over to you.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what you were saying. All excellent advice. Get to the lowest floor in your house. If you have a basement, that's ideal. The center of your basement, and if something sturdy, if you're in the path of the storm system. It might sound silly, but if you have a bike helmet laying around, put that on, because a lot of injuries are from debris falling and flying around. So get to a lowest point of your house, the lowest floor in the center if you can, with the storm system. Again, we were placed in an enhanced risk area according to the Storm Prediction Center earlier today for severe weather. Now it's just the northeast sliver of Illinois, including the city that's still included in that. But we've got that tornado watch going on. We've got the warning for this particular cell. It's moving off towards the east-southeast now. It's pretty much clear the Cary area, moving into northwestern portions of Cook County, also pushing the southern portions of Lake County. I'm going to zoom in on the storm here just to show you we're seeing at least heavier downpours. Haven't heard of a confirmed tornado on the ground yet, but we are seeing some of that rotation. Lake Zurich, Inverness, Wheeling area. Zoom in a little bit further here on this storm system, and this is where we're looking at that velocity, as Emily was talking about. When you see inbound winds coming up against outbound winds according to the radar, that means there's some circulation right about here near the Inverness area. This is just south of, actually just north of the Kennedy here, way out across our western suburbs, just north and west of the Schaumburg area, and just along 14. Moving off towards the northwest highway there. We're going to zoom in a little bit closer to show you some more streets. Bartlett Road in particular, also along Barrington Road in South Barrington. Schaumburg area, be on the lookout for the storm as it moves in your direction along Meacham Road, Kirchhoff Road, and Palatine. This storm is moving off towards the east-southeast, showing signs of rotation. A pretty big storm system. As a matter of fact, Emily was showing it to you in 3 dimensions. I've just kind of picked one part of the storm system to show you how big it is extending up into the atmosphere, up to about 50,000 feet. So you get up to 60,000 feet, you're looking at a storm system towering up about 12 miles up into the atmosphere or so. So this is a huge storm, and it's fueled by that heat and humidity that have been building across the area. Most of you have noticed it. The humidity has been climbing throughout the day. South of the city, we've got heat index values around 110 degrees or so. North of the city, they're getting well into the 90s, and it's along this frontal boundary, the swarm front, that we're seeing the storm kind of fire up. Again, just want to back up to show you that shear. We've got what we call kind of gate-to-gate shear here. Winds kind of changing direction in a very small area. That means there's some circulation most likely there near Bartlett, Schaumburg, Streamwood area along Bartlett Road, Raymond Street, and South Elgin. Everybody in the vicinity of the storm system and the track of it as it moves off towards the east, you need to pay attention and get to a lowest floor of your home. Cover up your head, get into a bathtub or some sturdy piece of furniture. It's the safest way to ride out a tornado like this. So this is just one cell we're watching in particular. We've got the watch going on across most of the area for the next several hours. We could be looking at additional cells developing, but this one is the one that's being warned for right now. Emily, back to you.
Yeah, that's right. That tornado warning, again, that is in effect until 6:45, and it extends basically over to the east of Palatine, down to just west of Schaumburg. And the storm, I just got an update from the National Weather Service as well, that this thing is moving at about 15 miles per hour. Previously, it was moving at about 30 miles per hour. So unfortunately, we are seeing this moving even slower. So I do want to get a check of the radar now on what this storm actually looks like. And you see this little notch here. So that's also a very typical signature that we see when we see tornadic storms, because you have that inflow and you get this little bit of a notch. That's where we start to see that rotation. So again, we do have a tornado warning that is now in effect until 6:45. This includes places from Palatine down to Schaumburg, down to Bartlett. Elgin, this is now to your east. So that tornado warning, that has been canceled for Kane County, but it still exists for the far northwestern portions of Cook County. If we get a look at the velocity data one more time, we're still seeing a really impressive signature here. This is what we don't want to see, unfortunately. We are seeing those inbound winds pretty strong here, along with those outbound winds. So if we go ahead, I want to get a track for you once again. We're going to throw this back on over to the radar. If we track this to the east, this is moving east at about 15 miles per hour. And just again, like I did last time, I'm going to continue to track this east of the warned area. If this continues to stay as powerful and as strong as it is, we're going to give you some arrival time. So Streamwood around 6:16, Schaumburg around 6:24, Rolling Meadows around 6:32, Arlington Heights around 6:36, Mount Prospect around 6:40, and Forest River looks like right around 6:40 for you. Showing you now just the warnings. I'm going to zoom this out to the whole viewing area to see what else is taking place. But really what we're most concerned about is the activity that we're seeing in the far north and northwest suburbs. So these colors that you're seeing down here in Lake County, Porter County, this is actually relating to air quality alerts and also to excessive heat. So zooming back in specifically to the north and northwest suburbs, this is where we're looking at the most concerning weather at this time. Tornado warning for this small little sliver of northwestern Cook County. I'm going to zoom way in on that warning once again to give us some smaller towns and within that warned area. Again, this is now east of Kane County. So for those of you in Kane County, the storm has now passed you, at least the most concerning part of the storm. Inverness, you are Inverness? Correct me if I'm
Inverness.
wrong. Inverness?
Yes, Inverness.
We are now seeing you included within this warning. And again, Schaumburg just to the west, Sutton, South Barrington, Streamwood also within this. Checking on the radar once again, we're seeing a very typical tornado signature with this. We're seeing that notch right there as well. Velocity data. Wow, Tim, check this out. So we're now seeing an even stronger rotation
Kind
signature.
of tornado signature, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So this is, I'm going to zoom this way in. This is just north of Streamwood. For those of you in Streamwood, for those of you in South Barrington, this is your time to get into your safe space. If you have a basement, that's going to be your best option. If you don't have a basement, try to get to an interior room of your home. And Tim was mentioning this earlier. I know it sounds silly, but if you have bike helmets hanging around, put those on and try to get some pillows over your head as well, because this is, at this time, starting to look more and more likely like we could be seeing possibly a tornado with this. I'm going to go ahead and check chat and send this over to you, Tim.
Okay, so we were just looking at velocity, what you see in the upper left there. That's the wind and the change in wind speed or direction that we look for, that kind of signature, tornado signature, where we see a little bit of a swirl or rotation. Now we're looking at what's called reflectivity. This is just rainfall. How hard is it raining and where? And you can also make out this kind of swirl here to the clouds, kind of a hook echo is what we call, almost a classic hook echo that we typically see with tornadoes. I know Emily's checking to see if there's any confirmed tornadoes. With a storm like this, it's very possible there could be, but I haven't heard any yet. But it's all moving off towards east-southeast, just north of Lake Street there, 20, near Elgin, just east of Elgin. And looks like the Schaumburg area under the gun, Streamwood, as Emily has mentioned as well. And there's where we're seeing that shear right here, that gate-to-gate shear and rotation. It looks like centered just west of the Schaumburg area. So Schaumburg, Roselle, Itasca, Medina, Elk Grove, Mount Prospect, you should be all on the lookout for the storm as it continues to move off towards the east. In particular, along the Kennedy here, Bartlett Road and Streamwood in particular, Schaumburg, along Wise Road, Weathersfield Way, also along the Kennedy as it moves through the Schaumburg area, Roselle Road. Palatine, you're a little bit further north, but any of these suburbs you see on this map, really, east of this storm, should be on the lookout. You should be prepared to get into the lowest part of your house, the lowest floor, basement, center of the basement, on something sturdy, protect your head, as Emily was saying, a helmet or some kind of a blanket or a mattress if you can throw over your head as well. Just kind of zooming in a little bit more closer here, East Bodie Road in the Streamwood area, Sunnydale Boulevard, Bartlett, West Bartlett Road in particular. Watch out for the storm as it continues to move off towards the east. It's a powerful storm system. Here are the warnings that are now in effect across here. You can see these kind of hexagonal shapes indicating where the warnings are in effect. It includes the Schaumburg area, Streamwood, all the way out towards Elk Grove Village, across much of northern Cook County, and still in effect across, looks like, portions of maybe southern Lake County as well. And there it is. You can see that warned area is well out ahead of this storm system, all the way into the city of Chicago itself. So if this storm holds together, it has the potential of bringing potentially a tornado all the way into downtown Chicago. So we're going to have to keep a close eye on that storm system as it continues to move off towards the east. I want to back up here a minute and go back and take a look again, kind of give you the street level mapping of the storm system. It's right here where you see the red change over the green in particular in Bartlett, Streamwood area, which is just south of here, and back over towards Hanover Park. Any updates from chat on this storm?
At this time, nothing is confirmed in terms of a confirmed tornado, but this is still, again, a very strong rotation signature that we're seeing here. From the radar, we have our inbound and our outbound winds. The area of most concern at this point looks to be just over Streamwood, heading into Hanover Park and Roselle. Again, this storm is now, looks like it's moving east at around 30 miles per hour again. So I am going to step off camera, keep talking to you, and update the speed of this storm. And I want to redo the arrival times for you again, so we have a really good idea of some arrival times. But again, the area of most concern is Streamwood right now, where we're seeing this really strong signature of inbound, outbound winds. I'm going to draw some arrows here. This is what we're seeing. This is what we're most concerned about. So for those of you that are just north of Streamwood, just to the northwest as well, this is where we're seeing that strong rotation, that strong tornado signature. So again, for those of you that are in this area, please get down to your safe space. Basement's going to be your best option. Zooming out just a little ways, you see this notch. Let me go ahead and I want to highlight something for you. So here's the notch that I'm talking about. I did the wrong arrow again. Here we go. This right here is what we're most concerned about. This is the exact area that we're seeing the strongest rotation. So again, we're going to track this off toward the east. We're going to give you some arrival times. This is moving east at around 30 miles per hour. So I'm going to once again track this east of the actual warned area too. And actually that warning now is extending into the rest of northern Cook County as well. So again, some arrival times for you. Hanover Park around 6:22, that's momentarily. Schaumburg 6:25, Roselle around 6:28. Roselle, looks like you are actually one of the towns that were kind of given a shout out by the National Weather Service, which is never what you want, but this is heading toward your way as well. Elk Grove Village, 6:38. Elk Grove around 6:41. Bensonville, right around 6:43. Elmwood Park around 6:57. I want to kind of get us back to the velocity data. Again, this shows us so much of what we need to see. And this storm has developed so quickly too. We have so much heat, so much instability that we're working with at this point. And again, we're seeing this very strong signature. So coming back over here, I want to show you, see this blue area? That's really strong inbound winds. Now we have this couplet that we're seeing. This is just north of Streamwood. This is moving easterly. So now this warning, it does extend off toward the east. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to zoom this out. I want to once again show the entire viewing area, give you some perspective on what we're seeing here. That tornado warning, it now extends through northern Cook County, and this is also including Chicago too. The storm is not yet in Chicago, but again, this is continuing to move to the east, southeast, right around 15 to 30 miles per hour. We keep getting updates on just how quickly this is moving. Moving back now to the north and the northwest, the area of most concern at this point, sorry as I move the map around, just hang with me here, just north of Streamwood. Again, here's our rotation signature that we're seeing. It's a very strong one just north of Streamwood. So we're looking at, let me step off camera, read some road names for you. Shoe Factory Road. It looks like we could be seeing a possible tornado in your area. So again, for those of you in this red box, please get down to your safe space. West Schaumburg Road, just north of Streamwood. We're also seeing some rotation near you as well. One more time, I'm going to track this to the east, and then I'm going to toss you on over to Tim for an update. Schaumburg around 6:30. Elk Grove Village around 6:43. Bensonville 6:48. Des Plaines around 6:51. Niles around 6:59. Tossing it on over to you, Tim.
Yeah, so I was just checking chat as well. No confirmed tornadoes yet, but the National Weather Service is very concerned about the rotation with the storm, especially for the Schaumburg, Streamwood area. This is kind of what we see, this kind of profile, this look on radar when we typically get a tornado. So that's why they're concerned about it. We're still waiting for some confirmation, but it's all moving off towards the east-southeast, as Emily's been pointing out. And we were concerned earlier today with the heat and humidity building up that we had certainly the ingredients for this to happen. We kind of got into a little bit of a lull. We had the storms mainly confined across southern Wisconsin earlier this afternoon, and now we've got these couple of individual cells actually kind of merge into one strong cell here as it moves along. Looks like just north of the Kennedy, moving off towards the Schaumburg area. Let's zoom in again to show you where it's at. Here's the storm system now moving a little bit quicker. There's that little notch that we're talking about. It looks like a little bit of a hook echo back over towards the Schaumburg area. This is just what we call reflectivity. This is rainfall where it's coming down hardest. There could be some hail with this. Of according to the severe thunderstorm warning, maybe large hail and definitely some gusty winds, if not a tornado itself. You can see downpours coming down Mount Prospect, Wheeling, Inverness, Schaumburg area. And there again is that shear that we're looking at right here. We're seeing near the Bloomingdale area in particular, Elk Grove Village and Elk Grove itself, back up towards Mount Prospect, all the way up towards Wheeling. Anybody in the path of the storm as it heads along the Kennedy should be on the lookout for the storm and should be able to get into a safe place right now. If you're underneath this warning, you need to get to the lowest level of your house, inside something sturdy, or underneath a sturdy piece of furniture, inside of a bathtub, ideally. Cover up your head, protect your head. So Roselle area along Roselle Road, Bloomingdale, Medina Road, Itasca, Arlington Heights Road, all this area here just out ahead, and right where we're seeing this red come into contact with the green is probably where we're seeing the circulation for the storm system. Schaumburg itself, Bartlett, looks like it's probably passed by South Elgin, but keep an eye out for the storm as it continues to move off towards the southeast. And this storm is packing a punch, at least, very least, in terms of heavy rainfall. A lot of lightning and maybe some hail. Again, we're still waiting for confirmation on an actual tornado, but this warning, as Emily was pointing out, extends all the way into central Cook County. Severe thunderstorm warning, that's the tornado warning. Severe thunderstorm warning continues across parts of the area, too. That's for southern Lake County, but it's the warning for the tornado that we're most concerned about. A little bit of a broader view here to show you. It's where we see this kind of inbound, outbound winds coming in different directions here, centered with the green right next to the red. That's where we look for that kind of shear activity, and that's where we look for a little bit of signature for a tornado to form as it moves off towards the east. Anything new from chat coming in?
In terms of chat, we have not seen an update saying that there is a confirmed tornado, but what we can see is that we have quite a bit of hail that's going to be possible with this storm as well. We also just got an update that there are sirens now going off in downtown, so if you are watching us from downtown Chicago, you are included in the tornado warning, but at this time, the storm is still further off toward the north and the west. So again, tornado warning in effect until about 7:15 for Cook and parts of DuPage County. Here's a 3D look at this storm. And what we do when we look at this is we see how high it is, and notice that the hail core, so all of the reds, the yellows, the oranges that you're seeing here, it extends up to about 50,000 feet. So what that's telling us is that the hail potential is very high. We actually just saw an update from the National Weather Service come through that 2-inch hail is going to be possible. Of course, if you're walking around outside, if you're parked outside, we could be dealing with some issues there as well. Zooming things out one more time, we'll get a check of the entire viewing area. At this point, it really seems to be mainly the far north and northwest suburbs. Again, this is now starting to include Chicago, but the storm is not actually here just yet. So as we zoom things in, I want to show you exactly where this storm is. The area of most concern at this point, if we look at the velocity data, you'll be able to see that very strong signature. So we've been talking about this on and off. Whenever you have the greens and the reds kind of coming together in a nice little couplet, that's showing us that we have a tornado signature. So far, we have not gotten confirmation that there is an actual tornado on the ground, but either way, regardless, this is a really strong signature of inbound and then our outbound winds, and that's giving us all of this concern that we could potentially have a tornado as well. But on top of this, it's raining so hard that even if we did, we may actually have a rain-wrapped tornado, and those are very, very hard to see and to detect on exactly where they are from the ground and by your naked eye. So looking at this one more time, again, tornado warning. This is for parts of northwestern Cook County until 6:45, but extending down into the rest of northern Cook County and parts of DuPage until 7:15, showing you just the warnings now. I want to zoom out so you can get a little more perspective on what we're looking at here. Again, this tornado warning, it does include Chicago, but the storm is still further off to the north and the west. That doesn't mean let your guard down. It just means that you have a little bit more time to prepare. So for those of you that find yourself highlighted here within this red shaded area, so we have two separate tornado warnings that are technically in effect at this time. It may be hard to see, but we have a couple different boxes almost overlaying. So we have this one right here that's extending just to the west of Schaumburg up to Palatine, but the other one, again, that's extending down over toward Niles and then also including Chicago. Zooming out one more time, again, if you are highlighted within this red shaded area, get to your safe space. You'll want to go to a basement if you have one. If you don't have one, an interior room is going to be best without windows. If that's not even an option for you, bathrooms are typically a pretty good option as well. Tim, you look like you're ready to go.
Yeah, I just wanted to point point out that the hook echo is still there. It's a little bit more disorganized, but that doesn't mean necessarily the storm has weakened at all. We're still getting strong indications, as you were showing from Shear, that there's some rotation with the storm system. But at the very least, it's just pouring down heavy rain across much of northern Cook County, back through southern portions of Lake County, Schaumburg, Mount Prospect, Elk Grove Village, seeing some heavy rain here. And again, this is that shear that we're watching for. The green coming up against the red means the winds are kind of changing direction here, which is an indication that there's some rotation and probably well, most likely a funnel cloud, maybe a tornado. Not confirmed tornadoes yet. I just checked with the National Weather Service chat line. That's where we see the latest updates, and they still aren't confirming a tornado, but they are concerned the Schaumburg area and just south and east of there in Roselle. Also seeing some strong signs of rotation, so they're watching out for the possibility of a tornado there as well. Elk Grove Village as well as it moves off towards. He's going to zoom in a little bit closer to show you some roads here. Arlington Heights Road, as it passes through just east of Schaumburg, Roselle Road, Wise Road. All along this area, there could be a potential tornado, so this is where you need to take cover in really any area out ahead of the storm system, which the warning now extends all the way out towards the city itself. You need to be on the lookout, keep your eyes to the sky, get low. Get into the lowest level of your house if you can, into a basement, cover up your head, and protect yourself. I'm going to zoom in one more time here to show you some more streets. This is Lawrence Avenue in Roselle and Keeneyville, along Spring and Scooth Road in the Schaumburg area, Weathersfield Way, Beesterfield Road, all areas that potentially could be seeing the effects of a tornado or tornado itself as it moves off towards the east. So here's the warnings. We've got actually two warnings. This one is across southern parts of Lake County and northwestern Cook County, and this is the one that we're watching for the storm cell that's now moving through the Schaumburg area, headed towards possibly the city itself. And this kind of hexagonal shape indicates where that tornado warning is in effect and continues to be in effect all the way till 7:15 this evening. Just back up again just to show you a couple of street level mapping here. Yeah, go ahead, definitely
I'm going to jump in. We are getting reports of numerous tree limbs down in Streamwood, and not too long ago, about 10, maybe even 15 minutes ago, we were talking about that rotation being kind of right over Streamwood. Again, no confirmed tornado. The way this is worded is that there's a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado, and that's because we've been seeing these really strong signatures. But again, we are getting reports down now of numerous tree limbs down in Streamwood. We've also had several reports coming in of city alarm systems going off. At this point, the strongest rotation is directly over Roselle. So I'm going to zoom this in and show you here. So we're seeing the greens and the reds coming together here in this little notch, which is what we're always looking for. In Schaumburg, we're seeing those inbound winds, and that kind of wraps around in Roselle. We're seeing where these greens and reds are kind of coming together. So at this point, the strongest signature of rotation is kind of sitting right over Roselle. So for those of you in this area, it's time to get to your safe space if you haven't already done that. Again, basement's going to be your best option. I want to zoom this out, and I also want to throw a track on here, and we're going to track this further off toward the east-southeast. It's currently moving east-southeasterly right around, looks like 15 miles per hour. So if we put a track on this from where we're seeing that strongest rotation signature, which again was right near Roselle, here's some arrival times for you. Roselle, of course, momentarily within the next couple of minutes because it's right overhead. Medina around 6:32, Itasca right around 6:36. Elk Grove Village 6:39, 6:42 for Elk Grove. Rosemont 6:48, Franklin Park, Norwood Park right around 6:50 to 6:55. Oak Park right around 7:02. And again, we have been getting some updates that we're hearing sirens here in the city as well. For those of you in the city of Chicago, you are included within this tornado warning. That is until 7:15. However, the storm itself is still a little ways to your north and your west, so take this time to just prepare as this continues to make its way your area. Looks like possible funnel cloud was coming down around I-390 and Arlington Heights Road. The latest report from that is that that funnel cloud kind of descended and then has now dissipated. Another local storm report coming in from Streamwood. Looks like numerous medium-sized or larger tree limbs down along Tanglewood Drive. This is just south of Schaumburg Road. And so again, if you guys are in this area and you're seeing any damage, please send those in so we know what's happening on the ground. Velocity data, one more time. I want to get a check of what we're seeing here. We're still seeing this really strong rotation signature right over top of Roselle. Wooddale, this is going to be heading your direction. Elk Grove, this is also going to be heading your direction too. Again, this is moving east-southeasterly right around 15 to 20 miles per hour. Can you guys tell me where are we at here? We're on the highway on the Kennedy. Okay, so we're looking to the north and the west. heading towards the cell, you can definitely see we're seeing some very heavy rain off in the distance, those dark clouds. Heavy rain, that's something that we're going to be dealing with. Localized flooding, of course, too. Something that we really even haven't mentioned because we've been so wrapped up in the tornado warning is the winds coming along with this severe thunderstorm that's moving through too. So winds are going to potentially be as high as about 70 to 75 miles per hour in terms of wind gusts as this blows through, and that's outside of that tornado activity, of course. And once again, we have yet to hear confirmation that there is actually a tornado on the ground. But as we continue to look at velocity data, we're continuing to see that signature, that very prominent tornado signature where we're seeing those couplets of the greens and the reds. As of right now, that looks to be just right over Roselle. And again, this is moving to the east, southeast. I'm kind of pretty far zoomed in here, but we'll go ahead and throw some neighborhoods on here with some arrival times. Medina around 6:34, so momentarily. Itasca around 6:38, Elk Grove Village around 6:40, Rosemont 6:49, Schiller Park right around 6:52, Park Ridge looking like right around 6:54, Norwood Park 6:56, and 6:59 for Elmwood Park. Tim, I'm going to throw it on over to you for now.
Yeah, so I'm hearing there's sirens going off. I believe I heard Park Ridge in the Lincoln Park area for this warning. It includes a good portion of northern Cook County and the city itself. So just to put it into perspective, we heard that there was some wind damage, some limbs down, I think Emily was mentioning, out near the Streamwood area. I think the storm has pretty much passed by there. It now looks like the center of this storm, the worst circulation probably somewhere over the Roselle area. And she was mentioning also the Elgin O'Hare Expressway where it intersects with Arlington Heights Road. So somewhere roughly in here. So Medina Road itself, Itasca, the town of Medina, Bloomingdale, all have to be on the lookout for the storm system. Let me zoom in and give you a couple of references in terms of streets here. There's Swift Road, Medina Road as it runs through Medina itself, Itasca, North Mill Road, Wooddale. This entire area under the gun as the storm continues to move off towards east-southeast. We just saw the shot from the Kennedy. That's because the storm seems to be riding right along the Kennedys and moves off towards the south and east. No confirmation of any tornadoes yet, but this is the kind of storm, as Emily mentioned, the kind of situation where we can get a rain-wrapped tornado. We saw that back with the Plainfield tornado several years ago. Never got any really good confirmation from that storm either. It was just this big boiling green mass as it was coming through, and that was a storm that came from the northwest to the southeast as well. So a little similar. I'm not saying it's going to be that intense, but definitely similar in terms of its characteristics, in terms of the track it's making. Go ahead, Emily.
Yes, and you were just mentioning that rotation that we're seeing directly over Roselle. We did just get an update that data suggests that a tornado may be developing directly over Roselle, just north of Bloomingdale right now. So again, if this is you, make sure you're getting to your safe space. Taking a look right now at the warnings that we have active, the rotation that we're most concerned about, it's back here on this edge of the warning, and this is going to continue to make its way to the east-southeast, right around 15 to 20 miles per hour. This warning currently does include the city of Chicago, but that storm is further off to the northwest. And I don't want to leave you out, for those of you that are on the northern side of this storm, we still have that severe thunderstorm warning that's been issued for northwestern Cook County, far northern Cook County, and the extreme southern extent of Lake County, Illinois, and that's until about 7 p.m. And with this storm system, we could be seeing winds as high as about 70 to 75 miles per hour. That's hurricane force winds, so we're certainly going to be seeing some damage coming out of that. Switching on over to radar data now, we are not seeing quite the same notch that we were seeing before. However, velocity data kind of always tells that story, and it looks like that's still exactly what we're seeing here. Zooming in just a little ways, again, the area of most concern at this point looks to be this small little area just to the east of Roselle. You see where we're seeing almost like the blues now showing up. So that's a really strong indication that we have strong winds that are wrapping toward the radar. And here's a little bit of rotation just kind of coming back in the other direction. So just east of Roselle is where we're seeing the strongest signs of rotation. At this time, we have yet to get that confirmation of an actual tornado on the ground. However, we have had some funnels that have been reported. They just haven't quite made that circulation all the way to the ground yet. I do want to throw a track on this. Again, it's continuing to move to the east, southeast, right around 15 to 20 miles per hour. Medina around 6:34, so again, that's right now, so momentarily. Itasca around 6:39, Elk Grove Village around 6:43, Franklin Park 6:54, Rosemont around 6:51, Norwood Park around 6:58, and Elmwood Park right around 7. Tim, I'm going to toss it on over to you.
So yeah, according to what Emily just said with that tracker, we're 634 right now. It's actually 635 in the Medina area. You really need to be on the lookout for the storm system as it continues to move off towards the south and east. There's Roselle, and here's where we're seeing, if anything, probably some circulation right here, just west of Addison and just south and east of Bloomingdale and in the town of Roselle itself. I want to zoom in here and show you a couple more intersections. I'll give you some street level mapping. This is just along 355 here, Glen Ellen Road and Glendale Heights. A lot of alarms going off, a lot of sirens going off between here and the city, which makes sense because everybody between this area, Roselle, and the city is under this tornado warning. So don't be too alarmed, but definitely show some respect to this because this is a powerful storm system. Even though we haven't had any confirmations of an actual touchdown with this storm, certainly it has all the earmarks of a tornado that could be developing or has actually developed. So we're waiting for some confirmation. Medina Road, Norwood Avenue, Glen Ellen Road, and Bloomingdale, Glendale Heights itself, Addison, Itasca, Medina, this entire area, you need to be taking precaution right now. You need to be getting to a safe place. You need to get to the lowest level of your house. You need to cover up your head, get underneath something sturdy. If you've got stairs going down the center of your basement, that's ideal, or a sturdy piece of furniture, a workbench in your basement as well. You don't want to be in the outside corners of your basement. That's where they find a lot of debris gets kind of strewn as these storms get through. More into the center is the safest place to go. And most importantly, protect your head. Put on a bike helmet. Cover your head with a blanket or a mattress if you can as well as the storm continues to progress off towards the south and east. Just a couple more areas I just want to point out. West Fullerton here in Addison, West Factory Road, Army Trail Road as it goes through the Addison area. All this potentially could be seeing the effects of a tornado as it continues to move off towards the south and east. Let me back up here just for a second.
Hey, Tim.
Yeah, go ahead.
We have an update now coming in that our radar is showing strong rotation and possible tornado directly over Medina. Medina, thank you. And this is going to soon be approaching O'Hare, so we're going to be watching for that. This is the storm system as a whole that we're really concerned about. So we've been very tightly zoomed in to show you that couplet, but this storm is much larger than that as well. It's extending from the far southern extent of Lake County down into northern Cook County, but in terms of rotation, that's a little bit further off toward the west. And if we throw the velocity data back on here for you, here it is. Here's this couplet just north of Bloomingdale. You see where we have those greens and the reds really coming together, and actually a very tight couplet. This is showing a little bit more of a signature even than the last time that I was looking at it. So if we zoom things in, I'm going to step off camera so I can read these road names for you. It looks like the strongest rotation at this time right around Medina. This is just east of the city of Roselle. I'm also going to draw some arrows on here. So this is what we're looking at. Do you see this kind of couplet that we see right here? So we have the inbound and the outbound wind. So the area of most concern at this point is right here. Regardless, of course, if you are within this tornado warning, make sure you're taking cover heading to your basement. If we get a check of the warnings once again, and I'm going to zoom this out so we can show the entirety of the warning. This is a very strong storm that not only is it bringing the threat of a tornado, a possible tornado, but we're also dealing with some very gusty winds. So wind gusts coming out of this system going to be as high as about 70 to 75 miles per hour. That's going to be enough to cause some damage. Also seeing signatures of hail that could be as large as 1.5 inches to 2 inches in diameter. If you're out walking around, if your car's parked outside, we're likely going to be seeing some issues for that. Right now we are taking a look. It looks like we're probably heading to the north and the west. Guys, is this still on the Kennedy? North and west. This is on the Kennedy. Yep, and we're still seeing some signs of some very heavy rain. Kind of light right here where our storm tracker is, but we're continuing to approach this storm. We also have some video, if that's ready, go ahead and throw it up whenever you guys are ready. We have the sirens that are going on downtown. This was sent in by our own Cassie Carlson as well. We've been hearing sirens going off downtown Chicago. We've had several cities actually reported to have some of those sirens. So there you hear it. That's what a lot of folks are hearing this evening. And again, as of right now, correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, there has not been you didn't see any updates of a confirmed tornado?
Yeah, I just checked. It did not.
Okay, no confirmation just yet, but we are still seeing this really strong signature. Right now, most of my concern really is what we're seeing right here near Medina. And we're seeing this strong inflow and outbound winds right here where we have the reds and the greens and almost kind of blues showing up here as well. So that's the area of most concern. This is currently moving east-southeasterly right around 15 to 20 miles per hour. So I want to take you back to the actual radar data here, and I'm going to put a track on this. We're going to continue to track the most threatening part of the storm, and that's going to give us a good idea of where it's going to be and when. Again, this is moving easterly right around 15, 20 miles per hour. So continuing to track that and the heavy rain as well as that wind potential. Remember, wind, that's another big factor here. We're talking about wind gusts as high as 70 to 75 miles per hour. That's hurricane force winds, certainly going to be doing some damage. So Wooddale around 640, Bensonville 644, Franklin Park 652, Norwood Park around 656, River Forest around 659, and Oak Park right around 702. Tim.
So yeah, I just want to give you kind of the bigger, broader view if you're watching this at home. This is where the tornado warning is in effect. This is probably the most important thing to mention here, and includes just about all the city. It does include the city all the way up, all along the Kennedy out towards the Schaumburg area. It also includes the Eisenhower too, and all throughout this area, along the southern end of the tri-state as well, as it moves through portions of Cook County, all the way back across parts of eastern DuPage County as well. So that's the warning. We also have the watch that's in effect in these areas shaded in yellow. All these are yellow shaded counties. That's in effect until 11. The tornado warning is in effect until 7:15. So we've got another half hour or so for this warning to be in effect. Let me back up now and show you again what we've been concentrating on, and that is that shear. And this is one of the markers we look for in terms of a tornado when they form. And we're definitely seeing it here from about Norwood Park back over towards Elmhurst, Oak Brook Terrace area. Let's see if I can move this around and zoom in a little bit just to give you some street level mapping. So Elmwood Park, Melrose Park, Maywood, all along the Eisenhower here need to be on the lookout. Oak Park itself, Franklin Park, Schiller Park, as the storm continues to move off towards the east-southeast at about 15 miles per hour. This is what it looks like on radar in terms of just what we're most familiar with, and that's just what we call precipitation intensity or reflectivity. So it's coming down pretty hard here, at least a ½ inch an hour. I just kind of picked a mark here in the northern part of the storm system, but all along the Kennedy here, some heavy downpours as the storm continues to move off towards the east-southeast. Again, this is a storm that could be wrapped in rain, so it makes it very hard visually to see a storm system like this as it moves on through. And you're moving into maybe the western part of Cook County into where it's a little bit more populated. You might get into the city itself. The warning does include the city, so it might be hard to actually see a funnel cloud. Doesn't mean there wasn't one there, but we haven't had any confirmation of this yet in terms of this storm system, this in particular storm, as we're watching it move off towards the south and east. So still some pretty intense shear with the storm system, kind of centered down near River Grove, Oak Park, and the Elmhurst area. And it looks like it's pretty much made its way through the Schaumburg, Bloomingdale area. Still be on the lookout there, but it's all moving off towards the south and east. And it's really only this one storm that we're tracking that has the warning that's in effect, but the watch is going to continue until 11 o'clock tonight. It might be revised after the storm moves through, but this is why there's a tornado watch in effect, and this is why there's a tornado warning for this storm as it moves off towards the south and east. Been checking Twitter, been checking the chat, haven't seen any confirmation of any funnel clouds. Have you seen anything up to
I haven't seen any updates in terms of like funnel clouds just yet, but I did see an update coming in that some of the strongest rotation is moving through Franklin Park right now, and it's pretty easy to see here on the velocity data as well. I also just got an update that there's now a flood advisory that's going into effect for parts of Cook County, Kane County, DuPage, exactly where this storm is rolling through. And that's because of the heavy rain that we're getting with this. So I'm going to zoom this out and I want to show you the entire viewing area here. The heaviest rain is currently moving through the north and northwest suburbs. This is coming down with rain rates in excess of 2 inches per hour. Did you see an update, Tim, of how fast the rain was coming down?
I just picked the one part of the storm. It's about a ½ inch an hour, but I have a feeling there's some spots that are getting a lot more than that, maybe an inch an hour.
Okay, so I have us zoomed in here.
There you go. Yeah.
Let's get a check of our rain rates here. So we're seeing some purples just north of Wooddale.
That's probably over an inch, right?
Yeah, and we're looking at rain rates about, again, 1.5 inches, 2 inches per hour right there. I'm pulling up some road names here. Just over an inch per hour. Just north of Niles, about 1.67 inches per hour. So again, torrential downpours with this as well as we continue to track this to the east-northeast. Zooming out just a little ways to give you a little more perspective on what we're looking at here. The bulk of this storm system currently is hovering over northeastern DuPage County, northern Cook County. This includes Evanston. You're getting very, very heavy rain right now. And along with this, again, we do have that tornado warning in effect and that severe thunderstorm warning in effect. But something that's majorly coming along with this is those gusty winds. I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see downed trees. We have wind gusts that have been as high as about 70 miles per hour in a couple spots. We did have downed tree limbs down in Streamwood where this previously moved through. I'm going to step off camera and I want to show you a 3D view of this storm, because that's going to give us a good idea of just how tall it is and what the hail core is going to be looking like. So if we zoom in a little ways, previously, say about 20 minutes ago or so when I was showing you this, we were up close to around 55,000 feet, 55. Now it looks like we're a little bit more shallow, around 50,000, but regardless, with a storm that tall and a storm this strong, it's not out of the question that we're seeing hail around 1.5 inches to 2 inches. So again, if you have plans to be out and about this evening, if your car is parked outside, we're likely going to be seeing some problems because of that. If we take us back over to the normal traditional view here, we're still seeing that tornado warning in effect for northeastern DuPage County and also into north central Cook County. This includes Chicago, but the strongest part of the storm that is still off to the north and the west. You can see this strong signature here in terms of the rotation. We're seeing those strong inbound, outbound winds. Tim, I'm going to toss it on over to you. We're seeing quite a few updates coming through, so I'm going to read chat and I'll check back in with you.
All right, yeah, I just want to point out this really bright, it's almost white here. That's O'Hare, so a little bit of anomalous data there that we can pretty much disregard, but it's all within an area of shear for sure. And it looks like it comes just next to each other, kind of what we call gate-to-gate shear right here around Elmhurst, Oak Brook Terrace area, Oak Park. So this is the area that we're going to watch in particular as the storms moves off towards the south and east. We'll zoom in Elmwood Park here. It looks like along Grand Avenue. Watch out for the possibility of a tornado there. Also Chicago Avenue, Lake Street, and Melrose Park as the storm is approaching you. Maywood, it could be in your area too. Oak Park is next. And this extends this morning, as Emily has been pointing out, all the way towards the city itself. So along the Kennedy, the Eisenhower, this entire area is under the gun with this tornado warning in effect for what, about the next half hour or so. So we're going to continue to track the storm during its duration. We're seeing some video now. Looks like some heavy downpours. As Emily pointed out, the rainfall coming down at the rate of more than 1 inch an hour in some spots, which is no surprise because you've seen the humidity climb. You felt the humidity climb throughout the day. Dew points is a measurement of the moisture in the air. When the dew points get into the 70s, it's very uncomfortable, almost oppressive. Our dew points actually south of the city were in the 80s, which is almost unheard of this time of the year in mid-July. And we could be looking at a high temperature hitting 100 degrees in spots around here tomorrow. Normally we don't do that. We don't do that normally, but normally we don't do that if we're going to hit 100 until the middle of July, let alone the middle of June, and that's a possibility tomorrow. So we've got a lot of ingredients working in favor for these storms, or this storm in particular, this one storm. So again, Elmwood Park area, Franklin Park. Let's kind of move around here, just show you as the storm moves off towards the south and east. Chicago Avenue and Oak Park, West Augusta Boulevard. And what we've been telling you is to find your safe place. Hopefully you've got a basement, if not the lowest floor of your home. Get away from windows, doors. Get into the center of your home. Cover up your head. Protect yourself. Wear a helmet if you can, a bike helmet. Anything you can to protect yourself, because that's where most injuries come from, is debris flying around. When you're talking about a tornado, you could have winds in excess of 100 miles per hour, taking ordinary objects that are normally safe, but flying them around your household, making them missiles. So that's why you have to guard yourself against that.
So get
Go ahead,
this,
Emily.
Tim.
Yes.
O'Hare just reported 73 knot wind gust.
Wow.
That's equivalent to 83, 84 miles per hour. That's certainly enough to pick up debris and just like Tim was mentioning, kind of throw that around. Here's a look at the current warnings that we have. We still have this tornado warning in effect for the parts of north central Cook County. This does include Chicago. The strongest of the storm is still further to your northwest, but now we're really starting to get that outflow from that storm. So wind gusts coming out of this storm, again, 70, possibly even 80 plus miles per hour. That's certainly enough to be causing some damage. On the north side of this storm, the most dangerous part of the storm, which is the tornado warned part, of course. If we zoom this up, actually I'm just drawing colors here. Let me step to my computer real quick. And we zoom the map further to the north. Here we go. I wanted to show you the severe thunderstorm warning. This also includes places like Schaumburg. So yes, you've been dropped from the tornado warning, but you still have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect until 7 p.m. This also includes Wheeling. Niles, you're kind of right on the border there. Winnetka, you're included in the severe thunderstorm warning, and we could be experiencing those wind gusts as high as 70, 80 miles per hour. If we get a check of the velocity, looks like rotation is increasing once again near Melrose Park was one of the latest updates. I'm going to slide this map down just a little bit. It's pretty easy to see what we're looking at right here. So just south of Franklin Park, east of Stone Park, just north of Maywood, we're seeing that signature there of that rotation. So Melrose Park, just right overhead is what we're seeing now. We have our inbound winds, we have our outbound winds. So we're seeing that couplet right overhead for those of you in Melrose Park. So for those of you that are in this area, if you haven't done so already, please get to your safe space. Basement's always going to be the best option. Interior rooms without windows, get underneath your basement stairs if that's an option for you. If you have, I know it sounds silly, but bike helmets laying around, things that you can protect your head with, that's probably the right time to be able to do this because, again, we are still seeing the signs of rotation. I want to get a track on this. We haven't done this in just a little while. The latest update that we saw coming through was that this storm was moving at about 15 to 20 miles per hour. So judging where that rotation is, which again is just north of Maywood, if we drag this to the east-southeast into the Chicago area, again, there's no guarantee that it might just clip the Chicago area, but regardless, we're going to give you some arrival times. Melrose Park momentarily, of course. Elmwood Park around 6:55. Oak Park around 6:58 and 7:13 for Chicago if this rotation and this storm continues on its same path, which is further to the east-southeast. Tim.
I understand our Storm Force tracker truck is keeping an eye on the storm. I don't know if we have a shot from there, but they're along the Kennedy approaching O'Hare, and we've gotten, as Emily was saying, we've gotten some reports of what were the wind gusts over 70 miles an hour, 74 miles per hour.
It was 73 knots,
73
so 84
knots.
miles per hour.
So there's a conversion, so it's what, 1.12 miles per hour per hour, something like that. So it's a little over 80 miles per hour. And that's along the Kennedy. And really, almost the entire Kennedy from O'Hare into the city is under the warning, and almost all the Eisenhower as well. And the storm is kind of moving to the southeast, could be impacting folks along the Eisenhower too as it continues to move in your direction. So at the very least, you're going to have these heavy downpours to deal with. If you're planning on going out and about, you shouldn't. You should stay home, but visibility is going to be pretty poor with these heavy downpours. Haven't had a whole lot of reports about hail, which I'm surprised so far. It doesn't mean it's not happening, but there is the potential for some large hail with these storms as well. So we've seen the rotation kind of get more intense and then weaken, get more intense. It could be the storm itself weakening and strengthening. It could be more than one funnel forming out of the same main cell. It's hard to say. It doesn't matter. There's a tornado warning. That's the most important thing you have to keep in mind. So let me go back to radar here to show you. Again, this is just the rain. Where is it coming down? How heavy it is? And if anything, it's this little curl here that I'm most concerned with, just south of Elmwood Park and now just north of the Eisenhower as it continues to move into western portions of Cook County. We'll zoom in and take a look at the shear markers that we look for, and we are seeing the green coming up against the red. And whenever we see that in close proximity and with that intensive level of green against red, that's where we're concerned. So Oakbrook Terrace, Brookfield area, let's zoom in, give you some streets along the Eisenhower there, also in Westchester, Cermak Road as it goes through Berwyn to Maywood Park, Oak Park, all these communities and all these areas you see on the map here, and then even maybe a few more, you need to really be taking precaution right now. You need to get the lowest level of your house, center of your house, in a basement if you can, and cover your head. Go ahead, Emily.
Yeah, so I was just going to mention that we're still continuing to track this storm further to the east. We have very heavy rain. We have winds 70, 80 miles per hour coming along with this. No confirmed tornado at this time, but we still have a tornado warning in effect for Cook and northeastern DuPage County until 7:15. We actually have Cassie Carlson, who's currently in our storm tracker. Casey Cronus, I'm sorry, in our storm tracker. Tell us what's going on. What are you seeing out there?
Hey, Emily. Yeah, you know, right now rain is very heavy. We haven't seen any hail and it doesn't seem to be too windy, but as you can see from our camera, a lot of rain, slow moving traffic here. We are on the Kennedy approaching O'Hare here. We're coming up here on Harlem Avenue, so not too far from O'Hare. But we feel like we went through the worst of it leaving the city. The sky was super dark, a lot of thunder, a lot of lightning. It seems to be settling down a little bit in the pocket that we are in, but still a lot of heavy rain and slow moving traffic. So if you are on the roads, you're just encouraged to take it slow. Of course, make sure your lights are on, and just be patient here as this weather continues to roll through.
Thank you, Casey, for that. Checking in one more time with our velocity data. So we did just get an update that some of the area of concern, of most concern at this point, is near Melrose Park. We are still continuing to see that tornado signature, the possible tornado signature. Again, no confirmation of a tornado at this time. But we have had a couple reports of funnels, but that rotation never actually made it to the ground. So when we're talking about funnels or funnel clouds, that means that you're seeing that that cloud, it's kind of spinning, descending from the base of the storm, but that circulation doesn't quite reach the ground just yet. So we've seen a couple of those. We've also gotten reports of 8 to 10 inch tree limbs that have been knocked down because of this. We've had reports of over 80 mile per hour winds coming in at O'Hare. So again, very, very windy. If we track this area of circulation, again, this is where we're most concerned about right now, is near Melrose Park. This storm system is going to continue to make its way to the east-southeast. River Grove right around 6:59 for your arrival time, 7:02 for Elmwood Park, Oak Park around 7:05, and Chicago, as long as this holds together, around 7:20. Tim.
Yeah, so I'm looking at a picture outside here from the city skyline vantage point, and you might be looking at, if you're in the city, a shelf cloud. So it looks very impressive. It's the rain-cooled air that there we go, gushing out of the base of the thunderstorm. You can see the lightning flashes, and it looks threatening, and it is threatening. So be careful. It's not an actual tornado there, but you see some low clouds, some low cumulus clouds out ahead of the main action. It's just a little bit further into that picture there. This is the downtown area looking from Lake Michigan. So this is the storm we're watching. This storm actually started off kind of interesting all the way north and west up towards Rockford a little while ago. You can see on the satellite or the radar view here, it started off near Rockford, just kind of a cluster of thunderstorms that kind of congealed into one and then rode along the Kennedy here to the south and east. It's now moving at about 30 miles per hour. Melrose Park area especially under the gun with the storm system. No confirmed tornadoes yet. I guess I'm hearing some reports of maybe some funnel clouds, but no confirmed tornado on the ground. Go ahead,
And
Emily,
we did just get an update out of O'Hare, or I should say Midway, that there was a rotating wall cloud, and typically that's something that you would see prior to a tornado dropping, or at least could be on the way. Again, it's a very strong storm. We are seeing that rotation. Looking at our radar and warnings, this is really what we're most concerned about. We have this cell that's currently moving through north and central Cook County. Northeastern DuPage County, you are still considered to be into this tornado warning, but the worst of the storm, it's really beginning to move further off toward our east. So for those of you in DuPage County, I'm much more concerned about Cook County at this point, just based on the storm and that it's continuing to make its way to the east, and that velocity data, which shows us the rotation that is now mainly over Cook County. So you see this little notch here. This is just southeast of Maywood. This is where we're seeing the best signature of rotation. This is the area of most concern at this point. Again, this tornado warning, it's going to continue to be in effect until about 7:15. It does extend all the way on over to Chicago. For those of us in Chicago, we're just starting to see this rain getting going, but we're going to start to get those winds coming out of this storm as well. And this cell has actually had a history of wind gusts over 80 miles per hour. Here's a look at our sky cam. You can really see it shaking around, starting to see some lightning as well. Check out the sky. So dark. Can we take that full screen? It looks so dark out there, and we're definitely seeing those gusty winds shaking that camera around. Again, this is our sky cam looking toward the city. We're actually looking directly into that cell, because if we look at the radar one more time, if we bring it back out to me, this is where that cell is. So the camera that we were just looking at is kind of right on the edge of this storm system when we were looking off toward the north and the west. Looks like our warning was just extended further to the south and the east. So this now includes places like Summit, Worth, Harvey, just west of Whiting. Let me go ahead and move out of the way here. Just west of Whiting, so near the state line. This has been continuing to extend to the south into southern Cook County. Tim.
You mentioned Midway Airport, so that's just south of the Cicero area. Cicero Road cuts right through Midway Airport, so this is the area that we're watching right now. I'm kind of zoomed in there. Cicero itself, Stickney area, Elsden. All this is under the gun. Bedford Park as well, as the storm moves off towards the southeast at about 30 miles per hour. And what you're looking at here is not the rainfall. You're looking at which way the direction of the wind is flowing inside this thunderstorm. So we kind of look for that to get a profile of this thunderstorm to see if there's winds flowing in different directions right next to each other. We call that shear. And if we have this strong shear, it's a sign of rotation. And we've seen that kind of ebb and flow with the lifetime of the storm system. It was very strong at first, it kind of weakened. Now we're starting to see it again in Riverside, Brookfield area, Stickney. So all along 55 here, all along Pulaski Road, Kedzie, also Cicero Road, out towards Midway. These are the areas that are potentially under the gun for this potential tornado. Storm Force tracker truck has been watching the storm system, tracking it along the Kennedy, kind of rode the Kennedy for the last hour or so. Now it appears to be diving a little bit more, maybe south, but in any event, it's headed toward the city. So the warning has been extended to include that storm system as it passes through the city. I'm going to kind of broaden the view here just to give you an idea. In particular here, Maywood, Cicero area, that's where we're seeing the best gate-to-gate shear and probably the highest potential for an actual funnel cloud and or tornado reaching the ground. So there's the warning. The one up to the north is going to expire sooner. Then we've extended the warning a little further south. all the way down to south of the city, almost into northwest Indiana for the second storm system. And then every same storm system, but a different warning. And all these areas shaded in yellow. This is a tornado watch. It's in effect, Emily's until 11 o'clock, I think, tonight.
Yes, it's until 11 o'clock.
This entire area.
Yes, and I wanted to, so I put the radar in motion. This is really, I wanted to kind of jump in here. Sorry, Tim.
Go.
We're really starting to see this storm cell now diving to the south and the east. And this is what we were talking about previously today, is with some of our storm development, we were waiting for these storms to kind of take that southeasterly track, kind of follow the best instability. And that's exactly what we're seeing here in Cook County. So the tornado warning, it has been dropped from DuPage County. So DuPage County, those of you that are there, you are now free of the severe thunderstorm warning. The tornado warning, that's been dropped. All eyes at this point are really on Cook County. So this cell is going to continue to take a dive to the south. I do want to stop this loop now, and I want to zoom in because we're starting to see a very typical radar notch here. I'm gonna jump in here real quick. Here we go. I want to zoom in on this. You see this little inflow right here? So typically when we're looking for a radar signature that indicates that we could be dealing with tornadic activity, you have this little hook echo right here, and that's exactly what we're starting to see. This is just west of Cicero. So for those of you in Cicero, and again, this system is continuing to drop to the southeast now. So previously, we were talking about easterly movement around 15 miles per hour. Well, this is now diving to the southeast at about 30, so it's picking up steam as well. Looking at our velocity data, check this out. So we're seeing almost kind of blue shading showing up here, showing that those winds are even stronger here on this scale. So this notch that we're seeing, that's just south of Oak Park, just west of Cicero, this is the area of most concern at this point. So this is where we're seeing that indication of rotation, possibly a funnel cloud. We have yet to receive any updates of any confirmed tornadoes, but at this point, this is still a really concerning radar signature that we're seeing. I do want to kind of put this in motion now so you can see where this is headed. I'm going to zoom out because I know this is kind of flying by and moving really quickly. But you can see how this originally started in the far north and northwest suburbs, and this area of rotation is now beginning to take that dive to the southeast. It's going to continue on a path down into southern Cook County, and likely that rotation is just going to brush the far western edge of Chicago. At this point, it doesn't necessarily look like it's going to be in Chicago. With that strongest rotation, I think it's going to be passing just west of us. Tim?
Yeah, I just saw in chat, and if you could confirm this for me, LaGrange Park had wind gusts getting up to around 80 miles per hour. Brookfield area, I believe, as well with the storm system. So winds gusting up to 80 miles per hour. Again, that's hurricane strength winds. Might not be necessarily a tornado, it doesn't matter. These are winds that can do a lot of damage, but there is still a warning. So there's a potential for the storm to be producing a tornado as we speak. And this is the storm we've been tracking for the last couple of hours. Started off all the way up near Rockford and is now headed towards the city. Emily was pointing out this little notch here. Yep. This is in terms of reflectivity or rainfall amounts. When you see this little curve there, that's kind of a sign of a potential hook echo where we tend to see tornadoes form. And again, I'm going to switch over to the shear to show you where the winds are kind of changing direction within the storm system. So it's the Stickney area, back over towards Bridgeview, Midway, Burbank, that area too is potentially under the gun with this tornado. I want to just point out echo tops. This tells you how tall into the atmosphere the storm is pushing, and this is getting up to 55,000 feet. So this is a huge thunderstorm fueled by the high heat and humidity that's been building up all day long. It's felt like 110 to 115, believe it or not, across our southwest suburbs, and it's that warm, moist air fueling the storm as it continues to move off towards the south and east. This is the warning that's been extended now across the far southern part of Cook County as well as the storm continues to push off towards the east. Let me just go back real quick to show you the shear and kind of outline a couple of areas that we need to watch out for. Emily, just jump in if you have something.
Yeah,
don't wait for me.
I was just going to mention, we just got an update that a house was struck by lightning in Morton Grove, and reportedly there are parts of the chimney now in the driveway. So not only are we dealing with torrential downpours and very gusty winds and potentially even a tornado, but we're dealing with a lot of lightning with these storms as well. Again, velocity, we're seeing that signature of rotation that's kind of been diving to the southeast. It's now moving through Cook County. I'm going to zoom in on this and show you what we're looking at right now. We have our strongest signs of rotation really just over Cicero and just to the south.
Just near Midway Airport right now.
Near Midway. And we got a report not too long ago, just before this storm system was kind of overhead for Midway. It was still a little ways off to the north and the northwest, that Midway was bringing in 80+ mile-per-hour winds as well. So again, that's enough to definitely do some damage. That's hurricane force winds that we're dealing with this storm system. You just saw the camera shot from our rooftop. We have torrential downpours now moving through Chicago. But again, the strongest signature of rotation at this point really looks to be near Cicero, just to the south, heading down to Elgin and near Stickney as well. So for those of you that are really in this area right here, you're going to want to get to your safe space. I'm going to zoom this out just a little ways to show you the entirety of the warning. So this now extends further to the south, almost down to Tinley Park, not quite in Tinley Park, but pretty close to it. And this storm's going to continue to dive to the south-southeast right around 30 miles per hour. And this is going to be, again, continuing to track that rotation because we're certainly seeing that. Tim?
So that tornado warning is in effect until 7:45. Is that what that said, Emily, I believe?
Yes, 7:45.
Okay. Can we take a look outside again? I want to show you our view looking at the lakefront here. And, well, you don't see the skyline any longer because we've got heavy torrential rain coming down. We've got lightning and thunder as well. The warning does include downtown Chicago, so you need to take precautions right now as the storm continues to move your way. But more specifically, it's Midway Airport and that area. So all around there, that includes Stickney, Cicero, Bedford Park area, Burbank. That's the area that we see some of the greatest rotation and some of the signatures we look for when we look through these storm systems, and that's what I'm looking at here, velocity. So we're looking at which way are the winds blowing, and they're blowing at different directions right next to each other, right here in Stickney and back over towards the Elgin area. So let me zoom in and just point out a couple of streets and get you down to street level here. This is South Central Avenue, West 47th Street, West 45th Street, South Pulaski, all along here, Archer Avenue 2, as it continues to push on through our far southern suburbs now, it looks like. So this storm moving off towards the south and east at about 30 miles per hour. At the very least, you're going to get heavy downpours. We saw rainfall rates over an inch an hour, a lot of dangerous lightning, of course, thunder along with that as well. And the worst part of this could be a potential tornado, although we have yet to get any confirmed reports of a tornado on the ground so far, which is good news, but it doesn't mean it's not happening. There's certainly rotation, at least in the levels where these storms form, that indicates there could be a tornado with the storm system. Again, a bigger, broader view of this here just to show you. First of all, there we go. Echo tops that storm is about 55,000 feet. Computer can't keep up with all this data apparently. But we've got the tornado watch in effect for most of the Chicagoland area. That's in effect until 11 o'clock tonight. This one strong cell is the one we're worried about. There's not a whole lot going on aside from this one. So I have a feeling once the storm passes on by about 8 o'clock, we might see part of this dropped. But for right now, we do have the tornado watch in effect for almost the whole area until 11 o'clock tonight. And the warning that's of most concern here is for the city on southward, all the way towards the Indiana border. That's in effect for what about the next
half hour
or so.
Yeah.
Right. Any updates?
So no updates just yet in terms of whether we're seeing a confirmed tornado or not, but here's what we're looking at on the radar. So this cell is continuing to dive now to the south and the east. We still see this little notch here, and that's where we're seeing the indication of rotation, where you have your inbound, your outbound winds. That's suggesting that we have rotation, possibly some funnel clouds. It looks like that rotation is mainly just west of the city, but wow, check out that view. Can we take that full screen? This is the view of our rooftop camera. Visibility is extremely low right now because of how heavy the rain is currently.
And I can tell you how heavy because I just picked a point in the storm. Almost 2 inches an hour is how fast that rain is coming down in the city.
And that's certainly enough to cause localized flooding. Poor drainage area is going to be dealing with that as well. So if you have any plans to drive, just please try and hold off until this storm passes. But even after that, you're going to have to be very careful and cautious because we're likely going to see some standing water because of this. Checking in with our velocity data now, we are still seeing some very, very strong indications of seeing some rotation along with the cell. If we zoom in, I think it looks like right now that the strongest rotation, it's almost kind of like we have two areas of rotation going on, Tim. Near Brookfield, just east of Brookfield, is where we're seeing the reds, the blues, and blue actually, by the way, typically we're always talking about reds and greens, but blue on this scale is just showing you how strong the winds are. So again, with this storm system as it's kind of passing on through, we're seeing wind gusts as high as 70, 80 miles per hour, and that's certainly enough to be doing some damage. But as of right now, the strongest rotation that I'm seeing really looks to be near just northwest of Elgin. Yeah. Of what? Oh, sorry. Tim, over to you.
Okay. Was there a flood advisory did you mention before?
Yes.
Okay.
Flood advisory was going into effect. That was parts of Kane County, DuPage County, as this system, basically everywhere where this system has passed through.
Right.
So in parts of Kane County, northwestern Cook County, into northeastern DuPage. We have that flood advisory now in effect too because of those really high rain rates.
Right, and the reason I asked is because I'm looking at the rainfall coming down on, this is just what we call reflectivity. It shows you how intense the rain is falling and where it's falling. Right now it's headed into the heart of the city. And let me just fast forward here. Actually, this is the current view. I'm just going to pick a point to kind of give you an idea of the rainfall rates, try to get the center of the storm. And right now it's coming down. And this point that I picked here just north of the Eisenhower here and just west of the city, it's coming down about 1.6 inches per hour. So very heavy rainfall coming down. But most importantly, the thing that we've been keying on, this is what we look for, meteorologists. We just had a little power surge there. Look inside this, I'm hearing lightning or hearing thunder outside as well. But anyway, we zoom in, we try to look into different levels of the thunderstorm to see if we're seeing signs of rotation. And typically we look for shear, a change in wind speed and or direction with height. And we certainly seen our share of shear, that's hard to say, with this storm system. And let me zoom in to show you where it is most intense. We've got, like Emily was saying, it looks like there's a couple of spots here.
Yes, and we
Summit,
did just
Elston. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, we just got an update. Midway Airport is currently gusting to 69 miles per hour, direction coming directly out of the north. So there's really some powerful winds dropping right out of this system as it's moving to the south and southeast. I didn't mean to cut you off, Tim.
No. So no doubt there's probably been delays going on for a while at Midway. Probably was at O'Hare because I know we got reports of winds gusting up to around 80 miles an hour at O'Hare earlier. Looks like O'Hare's probably being cleared out for the most part, but now it's Midway Airport we're settling, kind of focusing on, and areas south of there as well. So Inglewood area, Elston area, Burbank, Evergreen Park, Oak Lawn, Hickory Hills. But in particular, in and around Midway, so that includes the Burbank area as well, Bedford Park. That's where we're seeing some of the shear. That's where we're seeing the change in wind speed or wind direction right next to each other, and that's where we see rotation. And typically, that's where a funnel cloud and/or tornado could be forming. So let me just jump forward here, just again to point out the storm is reaching up to around 55,000 feet in height. We're back on Emily's computer there where she's pointing out the tornado. That's okay.
Yeah.
Pointing out the tornado warning that continues till 7:45 for Cook County.
Yeah, so I was just going to jump in. We were kind of, for quite a while, we've been showing where the rotation's headed and some arrival times for that. But, I mean, we're seeing such powerful winds coming out of this system as a whole. So I want to track this in a wider, broader view and get some more arrival times for you as this continues on its trek to the south-southeast. So Burbank around 7:15, which it's 7:12 right now, so very close to that. Oak Lawn, 7:18, Chicago Ridge around 7:20, Worth 7:23, Blue Island around 7:26. We're just getting in, it looks like another spotter report, rotating wall cloud 2 miles northwest of Marionette Park, which is in Cook County. Rotation was observed about 3 miles north of their location right there. So, so we're still certainly seeing some rotation because of this. I'm going to throw up some velocity data for you too, so we can get a check of what we're looking at. Oh, it's pretty easy to see here. So let's zoom things in. The area of most concern at this point looks to be right around Elston. And again, this is continuing to make its way to the south-southeast. We've had reports of wind gusts coming out of the system around 70 to 80 miles per hour, in some cases over 80 miles per hour. So this is going to continue to move to the southeast right around 30 miles per hour. Zooming out and getting a check of the rest of the viewing area here, and I'll put the radar, the reflectivity data back on for you. What we're most concerned about at this point really is this cell. Everywhere else, things are fairly quiet. This is going to continue to make its way to the south-southeast, possibly moving into places like eastern Will County or into Lake County, Indiana. So we're going to have to continue to track this very closely as this continues to drop to the south-southeast. But we have so much heat, so much instability to work with. Tim, I'm going to toss it to you, and I'm going to head on over and grab some temp data to show everybody just how much heat we're working with.
Sure. Okay, so I understand we have an image, maybe a picture of a tree that was snapped in half in the Itasca area, coming in from Joe Conti, I believe. And that was one of the towns that got some of these strong wind gusts, getting up over 80 miles per hour. So Itasca is really close to O'Hare. And we know O'Hare had official winds gusting up to around 80 miles an hour or more. And there you can see a pretty large, at least in terms of diameter and in height, this tree that's been kind of snapped in half. So took some pretty big winds to bring this down, so maybe 80 mile per hour winds or so, at least hurricane strength winds. Haven't seen any confirmation yet of any actual tornadoes yet, but we do have confirmation of heavy downpours, dangerous, deadly winds coming through the area. And what we're seeing on radar is all indications are this storm is certainly capable of producing a tornado, but yet to see it actually reach the ground. Doesn't mean it's not there right now. We just haven't had confirmation on it yet. As we pointed out earlier, it's Potentially, this storm could be wrapped in rain, so the circulation with that storm system that spawns a tornado actually wraps heavy rain all around it, which makes it very hard to see. Visually, you can't make out the tornado within the storm. That makes these storms very dangerous, but we do know there's a potential right here in the center of the storm system. I'm going to zoom in the area. According to what I'm seeing here with the heavier rainfall, now it's approaching Inglewood area here, and let me zoom in along Halstead. Also West Marquette Road, that area in terms of street level. This is where you have to be on the lookout and be taking precautions right now. You need to be in a safe place. You need to be on the lowest floor of your house, in the center of your house. Basement ideal if you have one. Get under some sturdy furniture, get in a bathtub, cover up your head. Put on a helmet if you've got a biking helmet on. Put that on. It might look silly, but it could save your life because debris that flies around with these storm systems, and you're talking minimal 80-mile-per-hour winds with this storm, can do a lot of damage. Ordinarily it wouldn't, obviously, but now it becomes missiles. Anything in your house potentially could be lethal, so watch out for that storm system. Emily, did you have something else you want? Oh, you wanted to point out the temperatures.
Yeah, I was going to show temperatures. So we have so much heat, so much humidity, and a lot of energy in our atmosphere to work with right now. So as you were just seeing from Tim, that storm is diving to the southeast through Cook County. So it already moved through O'Hare, and that dropped temperatures into the lower 70s. But the further south that you go, so this storm is basically right on top of Midway right now. Temperatures are still right around 90 degrees, but as this continues on its trek to the south-southeast, we still have lots of heat, a lot of humidity to work with too. So our dew point temperatures are currently sitting in the 70s. Previously today, they were in the lower 80s. That's extremely high, and we have a lot of, again, energy to work with when it comes to keeping these storms going. I'm going to hop back over to the radar now, and I want to show you what we're looking at in terms of our watches and our warnings, and I want to give you a really broad view of what we're looking at this point. So I'm going to zoom out, and I'm going to show you the entire viewing area here. Because it really is just this one cell that's moving through. Everywhere else, it's fairly quiet right now, but we're going to continue to track this as it moves to the south and the southeast. So zooming things in, right now that tornado warning, I'm going to get rid of the radar here so you can focus just on that. So the grays that you're seeing over in northwest Indiana, that's an air quality alert. What I want you to focus on here is the tornado warning. This is in effect until 7:45, and this is for basically just south of Chicago. And then this is going to go down to about Calumet City, but it's kind of right on the border there and sliding to the south. It's just this small little sliver that we still have left in the tornado warning. So checking out velocity data, you can see just on the edge of this tornado warning, this is where we're seeing that couplet. This is where we're seeing the strongest signal of some rotation. This is right near Midway, actually. So we have our inbound and outbound winds. We're seeing those signs of rotation. As Tim was mentioning, if you haven't done so already and you're in this area, go to the lowest level of your home. Basement's always going to be best. If you don't have that, you're going to want to get to an interior room without windows. If that's not an option for you, bathrooms are typically a pretty good choice too, because you have that piping in the walls that can provide some sort of protection for you from flying debris. Again, we have high winds with this. We also have torrential downpours too, and even some very gusty winds of 70 to 80 miles per hour. So what we're seeing right now is the heaviest of rain. It's continuing to move through Chicago. This is going to make its way to the south-southeast. It's still cruising at about 30 miles per hour. So if I stop this and zoom it out, I'm going to put some arrival times on here for you, and I'm going to do this really broad one here because this is going to give us a good idea of when these winds could potentially reach into northwest Indiana as well. So hometown around 7:18, which is right now. West Pullman around 7:21. Marionette Park around 7:22. Blue Island 7:25. Dalton around 7:27. 7:30 for Posen. East Chicago around 7:32. And again, I did extend this. I'm going to extend it further than the actual warning because again, we have a lot of heat, a lot of humidity, instability that we're working with to keep this storm possibly going. I'm hearing the thunder here at the Hanover around 8:06, so I know that's still about 40, 50 minutes away from now, but this system isn't really showing any producing a tornado. It was located over Chicago. south and the southeast around 30 miles per hour. Tim.
Just wanted to point out back to what we look for velocity, where we look for wind shear, possibilities of rotation within the storm system that could be producing the tornado. And this is where you see the warning area all within this area shaded in red here. We've got the Dan Ryan here and the Stevenson. So in this kind of corner here, the northeast corner where those two come together, Burbank near Midway, I think the storm pretty much has passed by you, at least the worst of it. You're still under the gun with some heavy rain, should still be on the lookout. But it looks like it's pushed a little further southeast of there. So Blue Island area, let me zoom in just to kind of give you an idea of the areas that we should be focusing on. Inglewood, Evergreen Park, Burnside, all south of the city as the storm continues to track off towards the east-southeast at about 30 miles per hour, actually moving a little bit maybe further, a little more due south compared to what it's been doing. And this is a storm we've been tracking ever since it started up near Rockford back a couple of hours ago and kind of got its act together and congealed into one big storm with several storms, and it became one big, what we call a supercell, a storm that has rotation within it. The echo tops at the height of this storm system reaching up to around 55,000 feet into the atmosphere, so you're talking about 10 miles high. This is a huge storm system, so at the very least we know it's going to produce just a ton of rain, and certainly been doing that. I want to go back to show you again the rainfall that's coming down with the storm system. That's why we've had those advisories that were in effect, flood advisories, because I'm going to pick a point in the storm here to give you an idea of the rainfall rate. I thought I was there. It is almost 2 inches an hour here, it looks like, just east of the Burbank area. So still some torrential downpours with the storm, but look upstream. There's no watches or warnings. Way up here, things have really quieted down. So we're looking outside now, again, looking at the skyline. We went from really threatening look where we had this low shelf cloud come through. We had the heavy downpour. We had a little bit of a power surge here, and now it looks like the sun's trying to come on out. So in the city itself, at least from this vantage point in the loop, things are improving. But it's south of the city still, along the Dan Ryan and just south and east of the Stevenson that we're kind of focused on. That's the area of most concern. Let's go back and point that out again to you here. Let's go forward really quick. And we were in the enhanced risk area, according to Storm Prediction Center, for severe weather. That was upgraded earlier today, and with good reason, apparently, because it did spawn a tornado. This situation that we see with all the just thick, the atmosphere thick with moisture, as Emily was pointing out, dew points into the 80s, which is just really uncomfortable. It's oppressive when it gets that high. We had the heat building as well. We had a warm front, all these things coming together to produce this tornado. Just this one cell, though, is the one that we're tracking. Again, I'm going to zoom in where we're seeing some of that shear. And I know we've been doing this over and over again, but this is the most important thing to point out. Evergreen Park along South Cottage Grove Avenue here, Burnside along South Stony Island. This is where we're seeing the rotation, and probably if there is an actual tornado, this is where it would be, the south side of the city, moving off towards the south and east at about 30 miles per hour. So it's had a history of producing at least winds of over 80 miles per hour, if not a tornado. We haven't had any confirmations yet all night that this is an actual tornado, but it's certainly, by all indication from radar data that we're seeing, it certainly is strong enough to be producing a tornado. Emily?
Yeah, and in addition to what you were just mentioning in terms of, possible tornado and of course the very, very heavy rain and the wind potential, we're still talking about hail too. So here's a 3D view of the storm. It's sitting at about 50,000 feet. And notice how all of the oranges and reds, whenever you see those extending as high up as about 50,000 feet, 60,000 feet, that's when we're talking pretty significant hail. We have had reports of quarter-sized hail in a couple of locations, but in terms of what we could be seeing out of this, the potential is there for an 1.5 to 2 inch diameter of hail. So if you're out walking, if you're parked outside, we're most certainly going to be seeing some damage to cars and possibly to buildings as well. We did also get an update from the National Weather Service that we're likely going to continue to carry the severe threat further to the south and the southeast, because again, we were just mentioning how favorable the atmosphere is for something like this. We still have the heat, we have the humidity, we have the instability, all that energy to work with. And the further that this moves to the south, it's just continuing to move into a favorable environment. So right now we still have that tornado warning that's in effect now until 7:45 for those of us that are in central and southern Cook County. This extends just south of Chicago, and then this is going to be continuing to make its way to the south-southeast, right around 30 miles per hour, likely extending down into northwest Indiana as well. Again, that's until 7:45. If you haven't done so already, get to the lowest level of your home. An interior room without windows is going to be best as well. I know it sounds silly, but it's always a good idea to grab a bike helmet if you have that nearby as well. Taking a look at the velocity data, if we zoom it in, we're still seeing signs of rotation. At this point, it looks to be kind of riding right along the lakefront. We're seeing this cell right here. This is the area that I'm going to zoom in on too. when it comes to the velocity data. So watch me switch this over, and you'll notice that's where we're seeing that couplet. So this is where we're seeing some of our strongest winds coming out of this storm. And again, this is going to continue to make its way to the south-southeast. I'm going to zoom in and shout out some towns. So Burnside, East Side. For those of you in Whiting, you are not included in the tornado warning at this time. But again, this is something that the Weather Service is continuing to potentially track to the south-southeast and drag this warning along with it. So we're looking out for that too. But as of right now, that warning is just in central and southern Cook County that we can see at this time. Tim.
So we've been tracking the storm, if I do the math right, for about an hour and a half since about 6 o'clock, when I think it developed up here towards the northwest Cook County maybe, or a little bit further north and west. And the warning continues until 7:45. And as Emily was mentioning it, just because you don't have a warning yet in Lake County, I know the Weather Service is watching the storm. It's headed your way, so that could very easily change. Even though there hasn't been any confirmed tornadoes, it's moving into an environment, continues to be in an environment, and moving into an environment that is really ripe for a supercell thunderstorm. So that's a thunderstorm that has rotation. Those are the kind that produce tornadoes, and that's why they'll probably, or might issue a warning, at least for Lake County. We'll keep an eye on that, and if that's the case, we're going to stick with the storm through its whole duration. But it kind of rode the Kennedy here earlier this evening and is now making its way just south of the city. If we can look outside one more time, maybe take a look at the skyline. Now, this is the loop itself. South of the city, you're still under the gun, and we're in a warning, so you have to keep your eyes open and be alert. But in the loop itself, things are starting to clear out a little bit, so you can breathe a bit of a sigh of relief. But it's south of the city that we're still concerned with. So let me kind of zoom in on that area and move the camera around here just to show you. This is just rainfall rates. It's just simply showing you where the rain's coming down, how heavy it is. We call this reflectivity. And it looks like the heaviest rain now just south of the city. Let's see if we can get an idea how much rain is coming down with the storm system. I'll pick a point here. This shows 3 inches an hour. That might be a little bit overdone, but it gives you an idea. It's coming down really heavily. This is torrential rain because we've got so much moisture in the air. We saw that building throughout the day. We saw those dew points, which is a measure, the best measure that we like to use, meteorologists, for moisture. And it was getting into the 80s. We rarely see that around here, especially in June. In the 95 heat wave, we had dew points in the 80s, which is a rare thing. We have it now in the middle of June, which is really unusual. So we've got all this moisture to deal with. We've got a storm that's pushing about 10 miles up into the atmosphere, dumping heavy rains. We've had a history of producing winds gusting over 80 miles an hour out towards O'Hare. We saw the damage in Itasca. The tree was down earlier today. So at the very least, the storm still has the potential to produce winds up to 80 miles per hour. At worst case, it could be producing a tornado even right now. So we're watching the storm system. We're going to go back to the shear again, and I'm going to try to zoom in on this area that we've been watching here. It's really right here along the southern end of the Dan Ryan now, approaching the Burnside area, South Deering. It's going to be moving towards South Chicago and eventually towards Whiting. So this is the area that we're going to be watching, and we could see, it looks like there is a warning now.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Yes.
You have the latest on that?
It just popped up if you want to pop on over to my computer real quick. I know that this is kind of overlaid weird. I have to shut off the air quality alert. There we go.
Until 8:15 it looks like, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So until 8:15, we do have that tornado warning now, and this extends through Gary down to Winfield and then almost to Westfield, but not quite. So this is going to continue to move southeasterly, and again, this is a tornado warning in effect until 8:15. We have yet to have a confirmation of a tornado, but regardless, we've been seeing that strong signature there of that rotation. Every now and again we have broad rotation, and then we get those tight couplets, and that's giving us an idea that we could be experiencing some funnel clouds out there. We've had reports of rotating wall clouds as well, which is something that you typically see before a tornado is potentially dropped from a storm. So that's what we're dealing with at this time. We're continuing to see that tornado warning over in Cook County kind of be shaved down just a little bit. So I want to zoom over to Cook County and give a shout out to some of the towns that are still included in this. Looks to be Burnham, Burnside, South Chicago, South Deering. You're all still included in this tornado warning. If we take a look at the actual radar here, this is the storm that's now rolling through. We have very, very heavy rain coming along with this, and it's going to continue to dive to the south-southeast. So zooming out, I know this is kind of bouncing around a little bit on us, but this storm is continuing to dive to the southeast. Gary, this is going to be heading your way soon. I'm going to get a track on this, and we'll give you some arrival times that we're working with. Again, 30 miles per hour to the south-southeast. In Whiting around 7:44. East Chicago around 7:51. Gary just shortly after the 8 o'clock hour, and looks like Hobart around 8:14. Chesterton 8:23. Valparaiso 8:34. Boone 8:43 for those of you in Couts. right around 8:52, Wheatfield 9:04, and 9:12 for Railroad. Getting a check of the velocity data. Again, this is what we like to look at to give us an idea of what type of rotation that we're seeing. Whenever we see those couplets of the greens and the reds, that gives us a good idea of where we're seeing that rotation and the potential of that funnel cloud or tornado. Again, no confirmed tornado at this time. We do have marine warnings in effect for, of course, all the boaters out there. A very dangerous storm to be out there on the waters with. This is continuing to dive to the south. Right now, we are seeing some rotation showing up in South Deering, near the east side, Burnside, Kensington. Also seeing some of that rotation too. But as far as we know at this time, there has been no confirmed tornado. However, notice as I zoom this out just a little bit again, I know I'm kind of going back and forth. We're starting to see this little notch here again. That's something that kind of went away for 10-15 minutes. Now it's coming back. So we're going to have to watch this very closely for additional signs of rotation as this continues to drop into northwest Indiana. Tim.
Yeah, we had an unconfirmed report, according to the Weather Service, about a mile northwest of Montrose Harbor of some large trees in terms of diameter that have fallen because of the winds with the storm. We know it's produced winds over 80 miles per hour. Got confirmation from the Weather Service there. In and around O'Hare, we saw the large tree that was downed in the Itasca area as well. So this is the latest radar data with this storm system, and this is maybe not classic, but it sure looks like a hook echo right here. And that's when the heaviest rain kind of wraps around the center of rotation with the storm system. So that would put any potential tornado, and we have yet to get confirmation of one, but still, again, very least producing 80-mile-per-hour winds in the Whiting area, back along Dickey Road here in East Chicago too. We'll zoom in and kind of point out a couple other spots to be on the lookout for the storm. East Chicago, along East 151st Street, East Hoffman Street, all along here is where the potential for at least some damaging winds certainly could be occurring as the storm moves off towards the south and east. The warning now for parts of northern Indiana that include Lake and Porter County is in effect until, was it 8:15?
Yes, until 8:15.
Losing track because these warnings are coming fast and furious.
Yes.
And the warning for the south side of the city is for about the next 10 minutes or so, right?
Yep.
Till about 7:45. So.
Yeah, and it's just about out of Cook County too. So I actually have the radar pulled up here. We're starting to see that back edge beginning to move out of Cook County. This is going to continue down into northwestern Indiana. We're still seeing that tornado warning. It hasn't been dropped yet from Cook County entirely, but the signs of rotation, that little hook echo that we were just talking about too, that's now beginning to make its way into northwest Indiana. So for those of you that are in Lake County, Indiana, this includes places like Gary, St. John. This is just north of you. You're not included in the warning, but this is going to come just past you, just to the north and the east. This extends over to about Westville, not into Westville, but just to the south. So we're going to zoom out just a little bit and we'll see that we're looking at this warning extending down into Lake and to parts of Porter County. If we zoom in, I'll give you some towns. Valparaiso, you are now included in this. Merrillville, Winfield, you're also included. Same thing for Hammond. Now, zooming to the north, this is the little hook echo that Tim was just mentioning. So this is where we're really looking for that sign of rotation. So near Whiting right now, just to the southeast of Whiting, I'm going to switch on over to velocity data and we'll be able to see if we're seeing signs of rotation. We are still seeing kind of those greens and reds together there, but not as strong of a rotation signature as what we were previously seeing. I'm going to go ahead and turn off that marine warning because it's blocking what is actually over the radar. So just hang with me for a second. I want to take this off so we can see. There we go. A lot of the signs of rotation that we're seeing, it's starting to move off over the lake, but this is only going to be for a very brief moment of time. And then this is going to continue its trek to the southeast through northwestern Indiana. So again, right now we're seeing signs of rotation. It looks like moving into Lake County. So for those of you near Whiting, just south of there towards East Chicago, if you're not in your safe space, now is a good time to be able to do that. You are in a tornado warning until 8:15 as the system continues to drop to the southeast. But the most concerning part of the system at this point looks to be right around Whiting, and it's going to drop southward toward East Chicago. We're also seeing kind of that broad rotation here. It's not that tight couplet like what we were seeing earlier. It's a little more broad, but regardless, because of that, this is still going to be capable of dropping a tornado really at any point. Tim, do you have any updates from chat?
I don't. I just checked. No updates. Still no confirmed tornadoes, but we do have confirmation this is a very dangerous storm producing winds over 80 miles per hour, snapping some pretty big trees in half as it comes on through. We've gotten reports in the Itasca area. I believe up towards O'Hare, near and around the Midway area too. Reports of some damaging winds, possibly near Montrose Harbor. We have unconfirmed reports of some large trees down there too as the storm comes on through. So at the very least, it's packing a punch in terms of some damaging winds, and at the very worst, it could be producing a tornado. We got our first heads up that we could be in for a rough day today. Actually, yesterday, the Storm Prediction Center had placed us in the slight risk category. That's level 2 out of 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then earlier today, it upgraded us to an enhanced risk, and we're still in that, although things are improving from the city northward right now, south of the city and here. That still the atmosphere is primed to continue to strengthen or at least keep the storm strong as it moves into northern Indiana. I think things in the loop itself are starting to improve. It's still south of the city that we're a little bit concerned, and especially now it looks like mostly northern Indiana, Lake County in particular. Here's the cell that we've been tracking. It started off kind of it's a sloppy group of thunderstorms here up towards Rockford late this afternoon, and then it kind of came together. The warnings started to fly around 6 o'clock. We've been tracking the storm for at least an hour and a half, and then the warnings continued in the city and southward, and now primarily the focus is in northern Indiana. So let's again zoom in on this area. And I know it sounds repetitive, but we have to continue to keep an eye on the storm system because it is a dangerous storm as it continues to move off towards the south and east. Let me zoom on in and take a look at, again, we're looking at a velocity, if it'll pop up there. There's the warning in effect until 8:15 in this area here, south of the city, much of Lake and parts of Porter County as the storm continues to move in this direction. Here is where we're seeing a little bit of that shear right now. It looks like kind of hard to make out, but it might be the worst of the shear starting to move out over Lake Michigan.
Yes, I actually have it pulled up, Tim, if we want to hop over to me.
Yeah, definitely.
So Tim, what he was currently showing you, that green shaded area that was over the lake, that's actually a marine warning because of this storm. Of course, we still have the tornado warning that we're most concerned about over land that is now tracking down into northwest Indiana. But here's some of that rotation that Tim was just mentioning. I just got an update from chat that some of the most area of concern, I think, right now in terms of rotation, that's going to be moving toward the Gary Airport. So for those of you that are near East Chicago, Gary, this is all going to continue to drop to the southeast, heading your direction. No confirmed tornado at this point, but we are seeing extremely heavy rain, gusty winds coming out of this system as well. And this has a history of 70 to 80 mile per hour winds in many locations, but at some points near O'Hare and also at Midway, I believe it was at Midway as well, we had reports of wind gusts over 80 miles per hour, right around 84 miles per hour to be exact. So that's certainly enough to be causing some damage to buildings and crops, things like that. Taking a look now at our I want to take a look at velocity. Here we go. We're still seeing extremely heavy rain from Whiting, extending almost to Gary now. So this is going to kind of move across the lake for just a few moments and then back down into northwestern Indiana. We've not been dropped from that warning just yet in Cook County, but as this system continues to drop to the southeast, we're likely going to be dropped from that momentarily. As you can pretty clearly see here, the worst of the storm is now past Cook County. It's definitely south of Chicago now, and this is going to continue to move into northwestern Indiana. We were talking a little bit about this earlier too. We have so much heat, instability to work with. We still have temperatures where this system hasn't moved through. We still have temperatures that are in the upper 80s to near 90 degrees, if not still in the 90s. And dew point temperatures are in the upper 70s to near 80 degrees. Whenever you're talking about dew points that high, not only does it feel really uncomfortable, but that much moisture is really going to help to kind of fuel these storms as we continue over the next few hours here. And this is going to continue to drop into northwestern Indiana. This really hasn't shown many signs of weakening. We've seen that rotation become broad and then become a little bit tighter at times, which shows us that we could be seeing those signs of a funnel cloud or a potential tornado. We're still seeing signs of rotation, but at this point it looks to be a little broader. Regardless, Weather Service says they're definitely going to continue to track this to the southeast, potentially dragging this tornado warning along with it, because when we're talking about broad rotation, really at any time we could drop that tornado or that funnel cloud. Tim.
So one of the things you talked about was the heat and humidity building, the instability out there today. And one of the things we look for, and the Weather Service likes to use a lot of acronyms, meteorologists like to too, CAPE, Convective Available Potential Energy, and it was getting up over 5,000 as the heat and humidity built. And we thought if a storm could harness that energy, if it could develop, it could be potentially a very strong storm. And that's exactly what happened with the storm system. The heat and humidity were building, the atmosphere is getting more and more unstable. Now tomorrow we think the ridge of high pressure will be more or less more due over us. So We think the atmosphere will be kind of capped. It'll be warm throughout the whole atmosphere, so it won't be as unstable. So I don't think we're going to see thunderstorms, but we have to deal with the heat tomorrow. But today we're dealing with this storm that continues to move off towards the south and east. I highlighted one point here just north of East Chicago, right along the lake shore there in northern Indiana. This might be overdoing it a little bit, but according to radar, 5 inches an hour is the rainfall rate with this storm as it moves into southern Lake Michigan and continues to move off towards the east. And again, I want to point out the areas according to where we're seeing the heaviest rain that we need to be most concerned with in terms of this pattern where a tornado could be is here near Gary. And I know Emily was just mentioning Gary Airport to watch out for, but along Grant Street, West 11th Street, West 9th Street and Ivanhoe, all these areas here in northern parts of Lake County and more towards the north central portions of Porter County. That's where you need to be taking precautions. You need to get in your basement, lowest floor in the center, under something sturdy, cover up your head, and just really protect yourself from a possible tornado with the storm system. I'm going to skip over that, Emily, handle that because we've got some interference there. But again, I just want to go back and show you the storm system that developed a couple hours ago up all the way northwest towards the Rockford area and then moved off towards the south and east and now continues to move off towards the southeast fairly quickly, about 30 miles per hour. So I think the areas that we're going to be concerned with for about the next, half hour or so is Maryville, northern Indiana, Lake and Porter County, and then things should start to clear out. Now the loop itself, we were taking a look outside earlier. We saw it get really threatening about an hour ago, and then the rain came down, and now the sun is starting to come out. So I think you can breathe a sigh of relief in the city, the heart of the city itself. But just south of there in northern Indiana is where our focus is as the storm continues to move off towards the southeast. And it's a storm that, even though there's no confirmation of tornadoes, it has produced winds we know of at least 80 miles per hour. As Emily was mentioned, in and around O'Hare, some communities in and around the Midway Airport area reporting some gusty winds. I know Itasca and the Medina area had winds maybe gusting up to 80 miles per hour, doing damage, trees down, large trees down, both thick trees and tall trees down, and also an unconfirmed report near Montrose Harbor in the city of some big trees down with this storm too. It's this one individual cell we're tracking. Aside from that, and we do have the tornado watch that continues for much of the area until 11. I have a feeling that will start to be canceled, but it hasn't yet, so it's still up. But it's this one cell we've been watching, what we call a supercell, a storm that has rotation within it. Doesn't guarantee a tornado is going to drop from it, but ordinarily maybe 2 out of 3 times when you see this kind of signature on radar, where you look for the wind shifts and you look for other factors, about 2 out of 3 times it could produce, or 1 out of 3 times it could produce a tornado. So erring on the side of caution, the Weather Service issuing this warning, and it's a good thing because it did produce at least 80-mile-per-hour winds. And we've been saying that's like hurricane strength winds. It can do a lot of damage. You don't even need a tornado. You can still get a lot of damage with 80-mile-per-hour winds.
Right, and we've certainly been getting some damage reports because of this cell as well. So we've had reports of fairly healthy tree limbs being brought down around 8 to 10 inches in diameter, which is pretty significant, and that's because of that strong wind that was coming through with this cell as well. Right now, we're still seeing some very heavy rain. That most of it is actually just over the southern tip of Lake Michigan there, but this is going to begin to drop southward into northwestern Indiana. So for those of you that are in Lake County, Porter County, LaPorte, you're going to have that very, very heavy rain moving soon. Gary already seeing some of that very, very heavy rain in terms of velocity data. We've been noticing that rotation. We're going to continue to keep a very close eye on that. I want to show you the warnings. Right now, the only thing that we're really most concerned about is the warning that we're seeing across northwestern Indiana. For Cook County, that warning, I know it's still showing up here. I did get an alert, though, that has been canceled. So for Cook County, the tornado warning that has been canceled. I know this looks a little messy, so let me explain here. Just focus on this red box here that extends into northern Lake County and also northwestern Porter County. This is going to be our tornado warning that's in effect until 8:15. Weather Service has said that they will most likely continue to issue tornado warnings right along the path of this system as long as it's still showing those signs of rotation. And the last several times that we've checked, we've still been dealing and seeing with that. So I'm going to zoom in. I do see some rotation now taking place. This is just north over the lake of Lake County. So near Whiting, we're seeing signs of that rotation. Also in Gary, near Gary Airport, that's one of the last updates that we've seen some rotation around there as well. And again, this is continuing to drop to the southeast. I am going to track this to the southeast for you, and we'll give you some arrival times. I'm going to drag it past the actual warning area because, again, as long as this continues on its track and it continues to show signs of rotation, we will likely see this continuing off to the southeast, especially with all the heat and instability that we still have. So Gary momentarily, of course, Hobart around 8:02, Deep River 8:10, Valparaiso 8:21, Boone and Couts between 8:30 and 8:40, Wheatfield around 8:53, Railroad just before 9, North Judson right around 9:07. This is going to be heading your way. Tim.
So again, the storm system is the one lone cell, probably a supercell, a storm with rotation. Well, definitely, because we have seen the rotation indicated by radar. Aside from this, the Weather Service is saying additional development of storms like this strong are very low. So I think once the storm passes by, I think things will start to really settle down here and we could be cleared of all this. But right now we're still watching the storm. But I want to show you some of the storm reports that have been coming in. So wherever you see these symbols, there's reports of wind damage or large hail. I told you I hadn't heard about a lot of hail, but now we're starting to see at least some reports coming into that. Let me zoom in here and show you that. Let's see, let's pick one of these here, and this is a report of in the Kildare area in Cook County at Route 53 and Lake Cook Road. Hail about an inch diameter, so you're talking about golf ball sized hail or a little bit larger. Definitely could do some damage. Go ahead.
I'm going to hop in right here.
Yes.
Let's jump on over to my computer. We are getting an update from the Weather Service saying that we just got a report of a funnel cloud with this system near Gary. So the radar shows continued rotation directly over Gary. We're still seeing a fairly weak notch with this in terms of the reflectivity. So this is the area that we're really going to be watching for. If we take a look at the velocity data, once again, you know, over the last hour and a half or so, as the system has continued to drop to the south and the east, every now and again we have that broad rotation and then we get those tighter couplets. Right now we're starting to see those tighter couplets again right over Gary. So we have our inbound and our outbound winds kind of coming together. This is giving us our idea that we're seeing some rotation right around Gary. For those of you that are in this area, you're going to want to get to your safe space, of course, if you haven't already done that. Hopefully you have. I know it sounds silly. If you have a bike helmet, if you have pillows that you can throw over your head, that's probably a good idea. As of right now, there is not a confirmed tornado with this storm. However, really at any moment when we're seeing rotation signatures like this, we could be dropping a tornado out of this storm system. So zooming out just a bit, I am going to drag this track for you because this is now what we're most concerned about. I'm going to go back to velocity. I didn't mean to do that. And track this to the south and the east. This area of rotation, if it continues on the same path, Hobart around 7:57, Deep River 8:05, Sedley around 8:08, Sylvan Manor around 8:15, Valparaiso around 8:17. So again, the area of most concern at this point really looks to be just over Gary, where we're seeing these greens, the reds coming together. This is suggesting that we have some rotation just right overhead. Tim.
So just to confirm, there was a report of a funnel cloud confirmed with this storm. From
Yes.
what you're hearing. Okay,
Yes.
Great. Well, it takes a pretty strong storm to go all the way from Rockford into the city and spawn maybe more than one tornado. We don't know. We've got the report now of a funnel cloud in northern Indiana, but we've gotten a lot of reports, or we've seen, I should say, at least indicated by radar, the potential for a tornado. It takes a pretty strong storm to have that kind of shelf life and continue to stay strong as it moves through the city all the way into Indiana. And it has produced a lot of damage. So I was just talking about that before Emily updated us on the funnel cloud there, which is very important.
Yes, I actually, we do have another update, Tim, saying
Yes.
that we are now seeing a funnel coming from that wall cloud that was as of 2 minutes ago.
Near Gary?
Over Gary,
Over
yes.
Gary, okay.
Yep.
Excellent. So that's where the warning continues until at least 8:15. That's parts of Lake County and also Porter County. So again, just to give you kind of a review of some of that, we just showed you that near Lake Cook Road, southern Cook County, near I think it was the Deerfield area, inch diameter hail. We also have trees down in Elgin. We had between Spring Street and Douglas Avenue, a large tree, estimate 4 to 5 feet in diameter. That seems awfully big, but that could be the case. It came down in that area. Let me clear this out. Pick another one here just to give you an idea. We've had winds reported with the storm getting up over 80 miles per hour. This is in Roselle. Now, we talked a lot about Roselle about an hour ago as the storm was coming through there, Itasca, Medina area. Tree limbs down on roadways there as well. And I want to zoom in on, let's see if I can do it here on the city, because we had that report near Winthrop Harbor. Let's see if I can get that here of some wind damage there. So this was Navy Pier itself, a gust of 61 miles per hour measured out at the crib near Navy Pier. And let's look at one more here. Some trees down in and around. This is the Lincoln Park area. So they had, via social media, a wall of a parking garage out from the winds from the storm system. So an impressive storm system, even though we've only gotten a few reports of funnel clouds with it, it's impressive nonetheless with all the damage it has produced.
Yeah, and Tim, we actually have a picture coming in from Hoffman Estates of some trees down. You were just mentioning and going through all of the local storm reports, and there's certainly a lot coming through with that, but let's take a look if we can. From Hoffman Estates, we do have an image of trees down, some damage there because of those high winds. Again, this storm was producing winds up to around 80 to 84 miles per hour at times. We're still seeing really powerful winds coming out of there. Again, tornado warning, that's going to continue and to be in effect until about 8:15 for portions of Lake and Porter County. And for those of you in the back, anytime you get that photo, just go ahead and pop that up and we'll talk about it. Oh, there it is. So it looks like we have a little bit of, yeah, we certainly have some damage down right in front of the house. You can see a fairly healthy tree too. It's full of leaves, and that gives you an idea of just how powerful these winds were. Again, that was coming out of Hoffman Estates, so thank you for sending that in. Again, radar and warnings, this is really the only cell at this point that we're most concerned about. It's going to continue to move to the south and the east around 30 miles per hour. At this point, the area of most concern looks to be right near Gary. So I'm going to zoom in. Previously, and we're still seeing it, it looks like we have this nice little couplet here just near Gary. This is showing us a little bit of rotation, and every now and again this storm has really had the potential of dropping a tornado really at any point. That's still what we're watching for. Right now we have a pretty good signature that we're seeing at least some low-level rotation with this. We've had confirmation of some funnels coming down from this as well. Just one, I shouldn't have said that plural, but a funnel cloud coming down. I'm going to actually jump over to chat. Tim, if you want to take over, I'm going to read if that is a confirmed one yet.
Okay, I'm going to zoom in because you're talking about in and around the Gary area. I'm just trying to get a kind of a street level view here. So East 15th Avenue, Central Avenue near Lake Station, County Line Road, West Old Ridge Road near New Chicago, Glen Park, Georgia Street. These are all the areas that potentially we've been seeing, getting reports of funnel clouds, so there could be a tornado in your area right now. You should be taking cover immediately as the storm continues to move off towards the southeast. I want to go back to the damage reports to show you. Let me clear this out for you. Just to confirm what we had talked about earlier. I'm going to zoom in towards O'Hare and show you that there are wind gusts at O'Hare up to 84 miles per hour. According to this, so this is official. This comes from the folks at O'Hare. So very strong wind gusts there. Let me clear that out here and zoom in a little bit further south as the storm came close to Midway Airport as well. This is Maywood. So thunderstorm wind damage, entire roof of the third floor apartment building removed from the storm system. So this is all coming in just recently now, some of these reports of damage. And there's one more kind of hidden here. Let's see if I can zoom in on that one. That's still Maywood. Let's clear that out here and zoom in just behind there. There's also a report of some kind of damage. Let's see if I can get to that. So 85 mile per hour wind. Oh, there it is, Melrose Park, inch diameter hail. So you're talking about a big piece of hail coming down, enough certainly to warn a severe thunderstorm warning. But of course, we've had tornado warnings for the storm system for a while now. It started around 6 o'clock as a storm that originated way up north and west up towards Rockford, came through our northwest suburbs about a little more than an hour ago, and then came through the city about a half hour ago, and is now sliding off pretty quickly to the southeast out towards Gary and into portions of both northern Lake and northern Porter County as the storm continues to race off towards the south and east. And in its wake, a lot of damage. We've shown you images of trees down in Itasca area earlier today. We've had reports on Winthrop Harbor of some large trees down. We're talking about big trees, not just tree branches snapping, so doing a lot of damage there, large hail as well. These are all the reports according to the Storm Prediction Center be coming in, and we might end up getting more too. Go ahead, Emily.
I was just going to jump in and say one of the latest updates that we got was the radar showing mid-level rotation, which we were just kind of touching on with our velocity data near Gary. And even if this is not producing a tornado, the storm is likely producing widespread wind damage. So this is the cell that we're most concerned about. It's kind of rounding the lake right now. It's going to continue to the south and the east. It's now cruising at about 45 miles per hour. So at least it's moving a little bit faster. Actually, the video that you're seeing right now, this is coming out of West Dundee previously. So previously this evening, we did have that tornado warned storm. It's the same cell that was moving through, and you saw just how dark those clouds looked. And so that's that's from the same exact storm system that's continuing now to move through northwestern Indiana. We do have that tornado warning now in effect from now until 8:15 for portions of northern Lake County and parts of Porter County. This includes places like Valparaiso, Gary. That's the area of most concern right now. So just east of Gary is where we're seeing signs of rotation. If we zoom in on that, you can see this discoloration between the reds and the greens. That gives us a good idea of where we're seeing some of that mid-level rotation. And as was just mentioned, even though we're not seeing that tight couplet, even though we're not seeing any confirmed tornado coming down from this at this time, we have had reports of a funnel, and we've also had reports of some wind damage coming out of this too. This storm has a history of producing 70 to 80 mile per hour wind gusts, and in some cases even higher than that. Tim was just going through all of the storm reports, and it's definitely been very damaging. So if I'm going to put this in motion, and I'm going to also zoom this way out and show you just how long-lived this storm is. So typically with supercells, they are fairly long-lived storms. It started in the northwest suburbs and then kind of took a dive to the south and the east, and it's just going to continue to make its way to the south and the east. And the latest updates that we have gotten is that since the environment is really so favorable, we have so much heat, so much instability that we're working with. Temperatures, by the way, where this storm hasn't moved through are still sitting in the upper 80s to near 90 degrees. So the further that it moves to the south, it's just continuing to move into a really favorable environment to support this severe development and to keep those winds going and the potential of that rotation too. So again, we do have that tornado warning that's in effect for portions of Lake and Porter County until 8:15, but everywhere else in the viewing area, things are fairly calm. If I kind of get rid of some of these boxes here for you, this is all that we're looking at. It's this one cell. It's going to continue to make its way to the south, southeast, and it's impacting portions of far northeastern Lake County, northern Porter, and it's going to start to impact portions of LaPorte County as well. But in terms of that warning, the warning only includes, I know this looks messy, let me zoom in and I'll explain it a little bit for you. So only really pay attention to this red box right here. That's our tornado warning that's in effect until 8:15. The gray shaded area that you're looking at, that's actually an air quality alert. And then this red shaded area, I know this looks threatening too, having something in a red or a bright pink. That's it. That's the excessive heat warning that's going into effect for tomorrow. So right now, all of our concern really is with this tornado warning that's in effect until 8:15. Tim.
So yeah, as Emily was saying, the atmosphere is just ripe today with all the heat and humidity to fuel a storm like this. So one of the things also working in its favor was the storm was kind of alone by itself, what we call discrete cells. So there wasn't other storms around it kind of robbing it of energy or moisture that could be sucked into the storm. It was out there all by itself, riding along the Kennedy, just continuing to strengthen as it moved into our northwest suburbs. So that was another thing working in favor of the storm, becoming quite a dangerous storm with those winds gusting up over 80 miles per hour. I've zoomed in again across the area that most impacted by the storm right now. The city are pretty much in the clear right now. Gary, still seeing some heavier downpours. Lake Station, McCool. Let me just pick a point to show you the rainfall rate here. I'll try to pick a point where it's coming down a little bit heavier. Nope, that's not what I wanted. I don't want the road name. I want the rainfall. Okay, again, this is a little bit high, but it gives you an idea. It's not 9 inches an hour, but it is coming down at a pretty good clip. We've had confirmation of about 2 to 3 inches of rain per hour. Anyway, slice it. These are heavy downpours because there's so much moisture in the storm system. And this storm at one point was reaching up to almost a little more than 10 miles up into the atmosphere. It was about 55,000 feet tall. It's still pretty tall. I think it's close to 50,000 feet the last time I checked.
Yeah, let's go ahead and we'll just get a check of that.
Yeah, check that out because it was, I know it's collapsed just a little bit, but still, even now at this hour, it is still very big.
Yeah, so we still are continuing to see this moving through Lake and Porter. We're still seeing kind of that notched area as well. So thanks, Tim, for pointing that out. That's the area of most concern in terms of the rotation. But as Tim was just mentioning, this is a pretty tall storm. So we're running at about 50,000 feet right now. We've had reports of quarter-size hail, but the threat overall with a system that it has a hail core that's up to 50,000 feet, it's not out of the question that we're seeing 1.5 to 2 inch size hail coming out of this system really at any point once those updrafts aren't possibly quite as strong and it can fall down to the ground. So we have that hail potential, we have the wind potential, and of course that tornado potential as well because we do have that tornado warning that's in effect until 8:15. Tim.
And y'all felt it today, that humidity climbing, that's what's fueling the storm system. So that's why we're getting those torrential downpours. So I've tried to zoom in again a little bit more to street level to show you a couple of areas that we need to be primarily concerned with. That includes in the Lake Station area, County Line Road, North Union Street, East 10th Street near Hobart, and Willow Creek Road and Willow Creek itself, and along McCool Road in McCool. That's where we're seeing some of this heavier rainfall, around 2 to 3 inches an hour. And I know you're going to show those temperatures because look at that, still 90 degrees down in Kankakee. That's amazing.
Yes, so there's so much heat, there's so much humidity and instability and energy in the atmosphere for us to still be able to work with for these storms. So we have temperatures, you can pretty easily tell where this storm system moved through. So it started in the northwest suburbs, kind of curved right along the lake, dropping temperatures at O'Hare down to 75 degrees, about 81 now at Midway. Gary's still sitting at 86, but previous to this storm moving through, temperatures were in the 90s. So we have that rain-cooled air now. However, we're still looking at temperatures that are in the lower 80s in northwestern Indiana, and this is the environment that this is going to continue to make its way into. Dew point temperatures right now, getting a check of those, 77 degrees is the dew point in Gary. That's where we have that storm moving through. We're actually just getting reports now. We have video coming out of, remind me again, where is this from? LaGrange Park. Wow, check that out, Tim. The wind, the rain.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay,
Just
so this is
torrential.
all from the same storm that moved through. Again, this has been a very long-lived storm. Check that out.
Look at that
Wow.
flag blowing, yeah.
So again, we've had reports of winds as high as 80, 84 miles per hour at times from this system, and that's enough to kind of flatten crops in some locations. And that's hurricane force winds. I don't know exactly what we were seeing out of LaGrange. I'll have to look and see if we have a confirmation of just how high those winds were. But regardless, there's no doubting that this is severe level winds coming through from this video. This is from LaGrange Park.
Yeah, impressive, yeah.
Yeah. So again, dew point temperatures right now, we're in the 60s and 70s. What this is telling us is we still have a lot of moisture in the air. Fortunately, we are starting to see the temperatures and the dew points dropping just a little bit. We're starting to lose that daytime heating. But regardless, we still have a lot of heat and humidity to work with. The heat index values, they have significantly dropped where that storm has moved through. But check out the southwest suburbs, still feeling like 103 in Morris. But again, focusing in on northwestern Indiana where this storm system is going to be moving, we still have a heat index of 91 degrees down in Rensselaer. So the radar, getting a check of the radar and the warnings. I know we're kind of zoomed in on the northwest suburbs. I'll zoom this out to the whole area there. Oh, we now have a severe thunderstorm warning that's been issued for LaPorte County until 8:45. So this is all a part of the same storm. The rotation part of the storm, the tornadic, possibly tornadic part of the storm is more so over the far eastern extent of Lake County down into Porter County. I'm going to zoom this in and we'll get a check of the velocity. We haven't checked it out in just a couple of minutes and see what we're seeing here. We still have those shades of greens and reds kind of mixing in, showing signs of some mid-level rotation, some lower-level rotation too every now and again. We've had reports of funnels coming from this storm system. As of right now, no confirmed tornado, but regardless, with indications like this where we're still seeing rotation and with this strong of a storm, it's not out of the question that we're just going to continue to extend that tornado warning further off to the south and the east. Tim.
So again, yeah, this is a storm we've been tracking ever since it kind of came together just east of Rockford. And around 6 o'clock, that tornado warning went up, the first one for the northwest suburbs. So this is the area so far. We've gotten the storm reports. I think we'll get more as the evening goes on into northern Indiana where the storm is right now. But I just wanted to point out it produced, as we've been saying, 84-mile-per-hour wind gusts at O'Hare. We've had wind gusts around 80 or more in other locations as well. Also, in addition to that, a lot of heavy rain with the storm system too. So this is one of the local storm reports from Schaumburg. They picked up rainfall in just 16 minutes, over an inch of rain. So it was coming down at about 5 inches or so an hour in that area, which is incredible amounts of rain. Luckily, the storm was moving at around 30 miles per hour, so it didn't linger over the area too long. It could have been a lot worse. And I want to show you some large hail that was reported too at this storm system. This was in Mount Prospect in Cook County, hail an inch diameter there. Also, we had large hail reported, I believe, up towards Lake Cook Road and Route 53. So that's in Kildare in southern Cook County, inch diameter hail. Let's look at a couple of the wind damage reports too with the storm system. This, I believe, might be O'Hare. Yes, this is O'Hare. So we had a wind gust up to 84 miles per hour at O'Hare. So at least hurricane strength winds with that report. And finally, let's look at another one here as we get more towards the south side of the city. Lincoln Park area, we had social media reports coming in of a wall of a parking garage blown out. Still haven't gotten any more information on that, but that's according to a local storm report coming in from the storm system. And its storm continues to race off towards the south and east. And again, we've been, as Emily was saying, we've been watching the northwest suburbs, but now it has pushed into north central Indiana. Near Valpo, it looks like we could be seeing definitely some gusty winds at the minimum, some heavy downpours of rain. I'll take a look at the rainfall rates coming with in the center of the storm where it's coming down the hardest. And we've been seeing these kind of numbers. I'm not saying it's really doing that, but 8 inches an hour, according to radar, at least that's what it's indicating. Certainly heavy torrential rains coming down, at least for a brief period, if you're in the path of the storm system. That's among many of the hazards you have to watch out for this as the storm moves in. Let's clear this out. Let's zoom down to street level here. And I'm going to try to focus on the Valpo area where you're under the gun right now. Joliet Road and West Hill, and looks like Calumet Avenue in Valpo, Valparaiso Street as well, Crestview area. All this area probably getting some really strong winds at minimum, and still the potential for some funnel clouds or tornadoes here. Worst case scenario as the storm continues to move off towards the south and east. And my velocity data is kind of confusing because of all this other warnings and watches going on, so I won't focus on that. But definitely the worst of the storm now slipping into Porter County, Indiana, right? Emily,
Yes, and you were just mentioning rain rates, and they are really impressive right now. And I wanted to track this storm, not just the area of rotation and not just that tornado warned area, because don't forget, we now have that severe thunderstorm warning that's in effect for LaPorte County. So I extended this all down to the southeast, the entirety of the storm. And here's a look at some of those arrival times for you. Again, this is for torrential downpours. We're also looking at the potential for large hail in excess of 1 inch in diameter. We do have an image to show you. This is coming out of Chicago, of a tree that fell on a car while somebody was inside of it. But fortunately, no injuries were reported, but multiple storm damage reports are coming in because of this same storm system that's been kind of cruising through the viewing area. Again, that started in the northwest suburbs, went down through Chicago, and now it's currently in northwestern Indiana. So whenever we have that photo, there we go. Very impressive there too, because one thing you focus on whenever we're looking at storm damage photos, especially when they involve trees, you want to see, okay, is that a healthy tree? This looks like it is. It has leaves on it, looks very healthy. But again, fortunately, no injuries coming along with that, as that tree did, at least a limb of that tree fell on that car. Again, that was, remind me where that was at? 65th Street? 65th Street in Chicago. So this was all a part of this same exact storm system. Again, there's some of your arrival times. We'll go ahead and get a check of that velocity data now, because we are really kind of honed in on this area that is still under the tornado warning. So we have this tornado warning that's extending from the eastern side of Lake County, Indiana, down into portions of Porter County. For those of you that are in the eastern portions of Lake County, it looks like at this time that the rotation is basically to your east, but regardless, that storm is still overhead. So you're still seeing that very heavy rain, and you're still getting the wind gusts that are coming out of that storm too. So you're not entirely in the clear in terms of severe weather, but I do think that tornado threat is now further off to your south and your east. Zooming into Valparaiso specifically, that's where we're still seeing some signs of rotation. We still have kind of the reds, the greens coming together here. So for those of you in Valparaiso, for those of you that are still highlighted in the red shaded area here, that is a tornado warning that is in effect until 8:15. At this time, we have not seen this extended further to the south and the east, but I really wouldn't be surprised if we end up seeing a severe thunderstorm warning that does extend further off to the south and the east. Tim's back. Do you have any updates from chat?
I don't have any updates, so I guess that's good news. No news is good news. I'm going to take it as that. You know, this all started earlier this afternoon with one big cell off the map here up towards Milwaukee that came just north of Kenosha, moved out over Lake Michigan. It did produce some damaging winds up that way as well, some torrential downpours. And then we started to see this little cluster of storms start to develop up here near Rockford. That was around 5:30 in the afternoon. And the thinking was if this storm could kind of get organized and come together and form one cell, it would definitely have the potential to be severe. And of course, it lived up to that with all the heat and humidity around. I mean, it feels like we took the tropics and just dumped it right over the city of Chicago and northern Illinois with those dew points getting into the 80s south of the city. We had a warm front in place. We had a little upper level wave riding along that front. We're kind of on the outer edge of this big dome of heat and humidity, and that's really the fuel for the storm system. so much energy for it to work with. And maybe the dynamics in terms of what was going on in the upper levels wasn't ideal, but what it made up for was in all that instability as the heat and humidity just continue to build across the area. Of course, it's going to be even worse tomorrow, but the good news is we're not going to have the severe storms to worry about tomorrow, just the heat, and that's going to be enough. But anyway, this cell came together just east of Rockford, rode kind of along the Kennedy, and then kind of, you notice it right about here, near O'Hare, kind of dives southward. When it came through O'Hare, looks like around 6:30, produced winds up to 84 miles per hour, and took more of a right turn and kind of hit the south side of the city and into northern Indiana where it resides right now. So let's zoom in on that area right now. And whoop, I just lost control of my computer,
that's
unfortunately.
All right. I will jump on over and I'll take that from you. The severe weather outlook put out by the Storm Prediction Center. So they did come out with an update. Previously today, we had portions of northeastern Illinois extending down into northwestern Indiana, basically all in an enhanced risk. We've lessened that risk now in northeastern Illinois. But for those of you that are in Porter and LaPorte County, you are now included in the moderate risk, which means long-lived storms are going to be possible, but that's exactly what we're already seeing. Something else that I wanted to show you is the warnings once again, because we were just talking about how currently we have the tornado warning that's in portions of Lake and Porter, and we also have our severe thunderstorm warning that's in LaPorte. We got an update from the Weather Service that there they go, they just did it. So they extended the severe thunderstorm warning rather than extending the tornado warning because our signature for the rotation, possible tornado, that seems to be weakening a little bit. So because of that, instead of extending that tornado warning, they are now extending the severe thunderstorm warning. But regardless, we're going to stay with this until at least 8:15 until this warning here is dropped. We still have some mid-level rotation every now and again that's popping up. And as always, we're going to continue to keep you updated. But regardless, even if we lose that tornado warning, still stay on guard because these severe thunderstorms that are moving through, they're packing a punch. They're coming through with wind gusts over 70, 80 miles per hour in some locations. And we're also dealing with hail, extremely heavy wind as well. So again, that severe thunderstorm warning now extends through Porter County until about 8:30. For those of you that are in LaPorte County, your severe thunderstorm warning, that's in effect, I believe, until 8:15. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tim.
I think that's right, yeah.
8:15, and then this tornado warning for Lake and Porter, that still remains in effect until 8:15. Getting a check of the velocity data one more time. Now, previously, we were seeing some pretty strong indications of rotation near Valpo, and we're still seeing some of this discoloration here, which suggests that we do have some of that mid-level rotation, but we're not seeing those really bright reds, bright greens kind of right next to each other, and that would give us a good idea that we're seeing some funnel clouds. We have not received any reports of any confirmed tornadoes coming from this, but however, with all of the rotation signatures, we've continued to stick with this. But again, the further that this storm continues to drop to the south and the east, this tornado warning is set to expire at 8:15. This is a severe thunderstorm warning that's going to be in effect until about 8:45 for the rest of Porter County. Tim.
So we've been with you since this warning went up, around 6 o'clock, and we got another 5 minutes for the tornado warning, and we plan to follow through up until 8:15. So just want to give you the latest again. Emily is pointing out the velocity doesn't look all that impressive for tornadoes. Certainly the rainfall amounts is pretty impressive, and the heavy downpours, and probably on the leading edge of this rain as the storm moves south and east, probably at least some very gusty winds. So I want to zoom in kind of street level here to Crestview and try to wrap this up here in just a minute, but show you some streets to be aware of. South Sturdy Road, it looks like, in the Crestview area, Joliet Road in West Hill, in Valpo itself, Campbell Street, Evans Avenue, seeing some heavy downpours. Further north, we go up towards Roble Woods, the North Calumet Avenue area. So all this is primarily in parts of Porter County as the storm moves off towards the south and east at 30 miles per hour. Just because we're about to leave you here in a couple of minutes doesn't mean the storm still can't do some damage. It has had a history of producing at least winds getting up to around 80 to 84 miles per hour, downing some pretty big trees, large hail up to 1 inch in diameter too with the storm system. Funnel clouds, a lot of funnel clouds reported, but it has to be touching the ground for it to become an official tornado. So far we haven't had that, but yet still the storm has a history of doing a lot of damage as it came through first the northwest suburbs, then the city, and now into northern Indiana. Back to you, Emily.
Yeah, that's right. So one more thing too, we just get a report out of Valparaiso that we're seeing nickel-sized hail coming down with this system, and also with the severe thunderstorm warning that's been extended. By the way, I've put up some arrival times for you while I'm talking. The severe thunderstorm warning that's now been extended through Porter County, that is going to be in effect until about 8:30. And that is for winds up to around 70 miles per hour. So we're still talking about damaging wind gusts, possible hail with this too. We did just get a report out of Valparaiso of nickel-sized hail, and this is going to continue to drop to the south and the east. And it looks like we are about to drop this hopefully in the next minute or so. Again, that tornado warning for Lake and Porter County, we are likely going to be dropping that here in just another minute or so. We'll check out rotation one more time just to be certain that things are, I'm starting to lose my voice there a little bit. Zooming in, we still have some signs of mid-level rotation, but again, that's something that we really haven't been too concerned about at this point because we haven't seen that lower level rotation. And as of right now, we still have that tornado warning in effect until 8:15. It is expected to expire momentarily. The severe thunderstorm warnings now extend through portions of LaPorte County and through Porter County as well. Here's a look at the radar one more time. We have those heavy downpours stretching from Valparaiso up into LaPorte County. This is going to drop to the southeast toward Kankakee. And with temperatures that are still in the 70s and 80s, it looks like we could continue to kind of carry these storms off to the south and the east. Thanks for hanging with us. We're going to get you back to programming now. Again, the tornado warning that was previously posted for Lake and Porter County, that has been dropped. We'll continue to track the storms.
Good night, everybody.